Chapter 792. The patient may be under too much mental pressure. Has he experienced too many things recently? As his children and grandchildren, you should let the elderly relax a little. How can you let the elderly bear so much pressure? His blood pressure is a little high. Be careful not to stimulate the patient, and don't let the old man's imagination run wild. The doctor's words made them feel a bit strange. The old man had made great achievements in his life and was famous. He did not have to worry about food and clothing. Now he should be enjoying his old age. Why was he still under pressure? Su Qianxi did not understand, so she asked Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing seemed to know what the old man was thinking and said, "It is probably about the Tang family." The Tang family? Su Qianxi felt a bit surprised, but soon figured it out. The Tang family and the Li family were old friends. The two families had been neighbors for several generations. Originally, the relationship between Captain Li and Captain Tang was quite good, but when it came to Tang Zhenghao and Li Zhao's generation, the relationship was not so good. When Captain Tang was alive, Captain Li and Captain Li had promised each other that they would treat each other's descendants well. But now the Tang family, Captain Tang only had one son, Tang Zhenghao, and Tang Zhenghao's son had died more than a decade ago. Now, not to mention a seedling, even the person was gone. This kind of situation had undoubtedly violated the promise between the two old men. So, that was why the old man was under so much pressure. Su Qianxi felt that she seemed to have figured it out. When she asked Li Xiqing, he just kept silent. When the old man woke up, it was already afternoon. Su Qianxi asked around and found that what the old man was thinking was not far from what she had guessed. The old man's face was haggard. He looked a little older than yesterday. He sighed, "There are not many people left in the Tang family, and I killed Tang Menjing with my own hands. If I die, I am afraid old Tang will hate me." The old man's voice was full of self-blame and guilt. Su Qianxi felt a bit sad and called, "Grandpa, right, Qianqian." Captain Li looked up at Su Qianxi with his cloudy eyes. "Can you help me call Xiao Lu over?" "Yihan?" Su Qianxi was dazed, not expecting Lu Yihan to be mentioned. The old man nodded and lowered his eyes in guilt. "I've let that kid down. Let him come over and let me apologize to him in person. He was the one who gave Lu Yihan hope. If it weren't for him, Lu Yihan wouldn't even dare to think about it. He thought Li Xiqing was dead, so, he had done too many wrong things. Grandpa, wait a minute. I will make the call." She patted the old man's hand and dialed Lu Yihan's number. There was a type of person who wouldn't visit a temple for no reason. At noon, Lu Yihan was having lunch when he suddenly received a WeChat message. The sender was a name that he hadn't heard for a long time, Yu Lily. "Yu Lily, Lu Yihan, are you there?" Lu Yihan, "Yes." Yu Lily, voice, "I want to borrow some money from you." Lu Yihan, "I know it's you. How much do you want?" Yu Lily, 200,000,200,000 was not a lot, but it was not a small amount. When Yu Lily typed this number, she felt nervous and complicated. She was afraid that he would refuse and ask. After all, in his heart, she was already unbearable. Would he think that she was trying to cheat him of his money? Chapter 793. 200,000 was neither a lot nor a small amount. However, people like Yu Lily cared a lot about her reputation. If it was not a last resort, she would not come to him to borrow money. Thinking about it, Lu Yihan asked, "What do you need it for?" Yu Lily, "Well, it's a long story. I'm so unlucky." Lu Yihan, "Not good." Yu Lily thought about it, and when she was about to explain, she received a message from Lu Yihan. There were only 2 words, "account number." Yu Lily's eyes were hot, and she almost burst into tears. For people like O Ming and Li Xiqing, this amount of money may really be just a fraction. But for Lu Yihan, who had just started his career, this amount was definitely not a small amount. However, he directly asked her for her account number, which made Yu Lily almost burst into tears. She took out her wallet and sent the account number. While eating, Louis Han transferred money to her using his mobile bank account. After the transfer, he sent her a screenshot and said, "Done. Yuli, thank you very much. I will return it to you as soon as possible." Louis Han, you are welcome. Louis Han, where are you now? Why haven't I heard from you recently? Yu Lily felt a bit ironic. Louis Han really did not care about her at all. She had left Kingstown for 4 years, and he actually said that he had not heard from her recently. Thinking about it, she replied, "I am in the south of the rosy clouds, beautiful Dolly, traveling." Louis Han, I am so happy. Yuli, it's just that I have been unlucky recently and encountered something. Hey, I will tell you more when I get back. Louis Han, okay. Yu Lily breathed a sigh of relief. There was finally $500,000 in her card. However, the money she owed Louis Han had to be paid as soon as possible. What kind of work could make money quickly? In addition to selling her body, what else could she do to make money quickly? Yu Lily took a sip of mineral water, rummaged through her bag, and found the white business card. Night Jungle Floor Manager, how you? After Louis Han transferred the money to Yu Lily, he quickly finished his meal. His partner, who had a good relationship with him, came over, put his hand on his shoulder, and said, "Let's go out for a barbecue tonight and drink together." Okay. Louis Han put the phone away and closed the lunchbox. Where are we going? The same place? Bring your roommate as well. That kid is quite fun. He doesn't look young anymore, right? Introduce him to a few girls. As he said that, he had a wretched smile on his face, as if saying, "You know what I'm talking about." Louis Han pushed him angrily and said, "Go away, he has a girlfriend, and now he has moved out to rent a place with her." Really? Her colleague obviously didn't believe it. You're no longer single? Nonsense, why would I lie to you? You still have to find them and teach them some techniques to get rid of singlehood. I'll leave it to you. I'm going to ask someone else out. He won't go. Louis Han made a direct conclusion, but he did not intend to contact Luo Zhan. His colleague looked displeased. Then you should contact him too. Give me your phone, I'll make the appointment. Seeing the outstretched hand in front of him, Louis Han sighed and said, "Forget it, you go to ask someone else, I'll make the call." Did you quarrel? What do I have to quarrel with him? Go away, I'll make the call. Louis Han found Luo Zhan's phone number and dialed it. Chapter 794. What the hell? Can't get through? Louis Han dialed again, and the result was still the same. The colleague came over again, and Louis Han deliberately turned on the speaker. Look, I can't get through. The signal is not good. Let me do it. The colleague copied Luo Zhan's number and called with his own mobile phone number, but it was quickly connected. Hearing the classic ringtone, Louis Han was dumbfounded. The phone was quickly connected, and Luo Zhan's slightly frantic voice came over. Hello? Look, it's a problem of luck. I got through as soon as I called. The colleague handed his mobile phone over. Answer the phone. This subtle voice also fell into Luo Zhan's ears, and he asked angrily, "Who is it?" Louis Han clearly saw him in Ireland a few days ago, but hearing this voice, Louis Han felt that he hadn't seen him for a long time. Holding the phone, Louis Han felt a little embarrassed. When he met the colleague's urging eyes, he said, "It's me." He thought that there would be a different reaction, such as silence, hanging up directly, or starting to talk about the past. However, to his surprise, there was an angry voice on the other side, shouting, "Who are you?" Louis Han was silent for a moment and said, "I haven't seen you for a few days, and you can't even recognize my voice?" On the other side, it was indeed Luo Zhan's voice. It didn't sound like he was unconscious, but how could he not recognize his voice? You. Ah, this is Luo Zhan's mobile phone. What the hell, I thought it was mine. Wait a minute. The person on the other side seemed to shout, "Luo Zhan, brat, why did you put the phone in my room? Do you want to die?" Louis Han was silent for a moment, feeling that the scene was a bit strange. The voice on the other side soon became louder, asking, "Who are you?" It was indeed Luo Zhan's voice. Except for the tone, there was no difference from usual. Louis Han felt a little annoyed, laughed, and asked angrily, "Luo Zhan, do you cosplay?" Luo Zhan is dead asleep. He will ask who you are before deciding whether to answer the phone or not. Louis Han, unable to talk anymore, Louis Han directly hung up the phone. About a few minutes later, the other side called again. The phone had fallen into the hands of a colleague, who glanced at it and threw it to Louis Han. Louis Han glanced at the phone number and recognized it was Luo Zhan's at a glance. Stunned, he answered the call. Soon, a sleepy voice came from the other side. "Hello? Who is it?" Hearing this, Louis Han was a little angry and said impatiently, "Hey, is it fun?" After a moment of silence, the voice seemed to have sobered up a little and said, "It's you. What's wrong? What's the matter?" In that case, he had recognized him. Louis Han was even more annoyed. "My colleague asked you to go to an outdoor barbecue tonight. Bring your girlfriend." "Girlfriend?" Luo Zhan was slightly taken aback, but he quickly recovered. "She's busy." "What time is it tonight?" "Pfft, acting. How could Luo Zhan have a girlfriend?" Louis Han said in a bad tone, "I don't know. I'll let you know when the time comes. I'm busy. Bye." "Oh." Luo Zhan quickly hung up the phone. After confirming that he hung up the phone first, Luo Zhan inexplicably felt a little happy. Lying down comfortably, Luo Zhan threw the phone aside, but he couldn't fall asleep. Louis Han actually asked him to go to an outdoor barbecue and asked him to bring his girlfriend? Suddenly sitting up, Luo Zhan grabbed the phone and dragged his number out of the blacklist. "Wan Lily, are you guys having a quarrel?" "Louis Han, some Luo E is so childish at such an old age, I can't stand it." Chapter 795. Louis Han continued to work. At about 4:00 in the afternoon, he suddenly received a call from her. Seeing the two flashing words, Louis Han felt like he was dreaming. He was stunned for a moment before he picked up the phone. "Qian. Ihan, are you free?" Louis Han glanced at the few lines of code on the computer and nodded. "Yes. Come to the hospital. Grandpa wants to see you." "Grandpa wants to see me?" Louis Han was even more surprised. Since Li Xiqing came back, Captain Li had not come to him again. Louis Han understood, but he never expected that after more than a month, Captain Li would come to him again. "Yes." "Which hospital?" "I'll be right there." Louis Han picked up the car key on the table and stood up. His colleague immediately felt that something was wrong and asked, "Where are you going?" "Hurry up and finish your work." "I'm going out for a while. I'll be right back." Then, Louis Han was already out the door. "Damn, this kid." Louis Han ignored the shouts behind him and quickly drove to Kingstown Military Hospital. After arriving at the ward that Su Qianxi mentioned, Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi were both in the room, and the children were also obediently staying in the ward. Captain Li was half sitting in the ward. When he saw Louis Han, he sighed. "Little Lu, you are here?" "Grandpa," Louis Han called. Louis Han felt sorry for the old man. This old man was a little older than the last time he saw him. Louis Han used to see him often, so he didn't think so. This time, after more than a month, he realized that the old man was not young anymore. "Xiqing, Qianxian, take the children out first. I have something to say to Lu." Li Xiqing glanced at Louis Han and nodded. Then he picked up his daughter and walked out. Louis Han and his grandpa stayed in the ward for more than an hour before Louis Han came out. Seeing him come out, the eyes of the people guarding outside the ward all fell on him. "What did Grandpa say to you?" She looked at Louis Han and asked. Louis Han smiled and shook his head slowly. "This is a secret between me and Grandpa." Stepping forward, Louis Han patted Li Xiqing on the shoulder and said, "Take good care of Grandpa. I still have something to do, so I have to go. Li Xiqing looked at him with a faint smile. That smile made Louis Han very unhappy. Ignoring him, Louis Han put his hands in his pockets and strode away. When he returned to the company, he found that all his colleagues had left. On his computer, there was a note that clearly said, "We're going to look for a venue first. You can come over after you've finished your work." Fine, I'll finish it first. Louis Han had no choice but to drop the key and continue his hard coding work. At about 7:00, his phone rang. It was Luo Zhan. Hello? Didn't you say we were going to barbecue outdoors? Where are we going? Luo Zhan's tone was much better than in the afternoon. Louis Han snorted and said, I don't know the number you called this afternoon. I'm in the company. You're upstairs in your company? I just drove downstairs, you can come down. When Luo Zhan said this, his face unconsciously burned. He coughed lightly and said, Don't get me wrong, I just want to go the same way. Chapter 796. Humph, what's the big deal? Luo Zhan hung up the phone unhappily and made the same phone call in the afternoon. After getting the address, he waited for another half an hour and still did not see Louis Han come down, so he drove to the place. He found that the scene was a get-together. There were several barbecue stoves, all of which were Louis Han's colleagues. There were all kinds of drinks and beers around, and there were more girls than he expected. Hot older women, cute lolas, and hot and sexy stunners. At the moment he arrived, all eyes were focused on him. Seeing Luo Zhan, Lao Li immediately greeted him and shouted, Xiao Luo, you are here. Luo Zhan was stunned, pointed to the beauties around him, and said, These are, they are the beauties in Xingfeng, which we cooperate with. What do you think? Beautiful, right? Lao Li smiled and greeted several beauties, waved, and said, This is the famous domestic hacker I mentioned to you, Z. His real name is Luo Zhan. Then, Lao Li clearly noticed all kinds of hot eyes from the beauties around him. Lao Li suddenly thought of something, turned his head, and asked, By the way, in the afternoon, I heard from Lu that you have a girlfriend? Really? Luo Zhan smiled, facing the hot eyes around him, and nodded. Really, it's just that my girlfriend is usually busy with work, so I didn't bring her out with me. Well, I believe you. Louis Han's voice came from behind. Louis Han was shaking the key in his hand, which attracted many people's attention. Luo Zhan's body stiffened, and he turned his head to look. The street light behind Louis Han shone on his back, and he came against the light. With a sunny smile on his face, Luo Zhan suddenly felt a little dazed. It seemed. I haven't seen him for a long time. How could he be so much taller than me? Was he so tall before? Then, Luo Zhan looked down and found that Louis Han had changed his car to a Mercedes-Benz. When the girls saw Louis Han's figure, face, clothes, and car, their eyes all lit up. This is the boss of our company, Louis Han. You should know him, right? Old Li introduced, looking a little indignant. This guy is 26 years old this year, and he's still single. If my female compatriots fancy him, they'd better hurry up. As soon as he said that, the girls chatted even more enthusiastically, and many of them walked towards him. Luo Zhan shook his head, took a bottle of beer from the side, and sat on the side. Louis Han was pestered by the girls. With a smile on his face, he quickly said he needed to go to the bathroom and ran away. In the blink of an eye, Luo Zhan drank more than half a bottle of beer. He was also a little anxious, so he followed him to the bathroom. But before he walked in, he heard a woman's exclamation. A beautiful and sexy woman happened to bump into Louis Han at the door of the washroom. The bag in her hands suddenly fell to the ground, and the contents inside were scattered all over the ground. Mascara, foundation, eyeliner, wallet, Luo Zhan sneered. Trap. It was full of tricks. Chapter 797. Then the man apologized affectionately and said, I didn't mean it. At this time, girls would blush, turned their heads, and then, damn! Luo Zhan cursed. Luohan squatted down to pick it up, but the woman's level was much higher than Luo Zhan had imagined. Squatting down was fine, but she was showing cleavage. My God! Which man could stand it? No one noticed that Luo Zhan was watching. Luohan looked straight ahead and said while helping her pick up the things, "Sorry, I didn't see you just now." The woman looked at Luohan and said, "It doesn't matter. I saw you. You seemed to be absent-minded. I had already avoided you, but you still bumped into me. Tell me, how do you want to apologize to me?" Damn! Luo Zhan deeply felt that he had underestimated the tricks of this world. Luohan felt a little embarrassed and said, "Are you from Xingfeng?" "Yes." The woman quickly took the things and chuckled. "Thank you." She was about to stand up, but the high-heeled shoes seemed to twist, and then the woman fell into Luohan's arms. Luo Zhan was stunned. He only heard the woman scream, holding Luohan's hand with both hands, and rubbing Luohan's arm with her surging breasts. What a coquettish bitch. Luo Zhan felt that he couldn't stand it anymore and strode out, but he heard Luohan's voice. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. I just feel a little dizzy after squatting for a long time. I'll be fine after a while." Pretentious. What a pretentious bitch. Luo Zhan strode up and shouted, "Luohan." Luohan looked back and saw that he was obviously not very happy. He asked, "Are you looking for me?" "No." Luo Zhan glanced at the woman and said, "Don't you want to go to the bathroom? Let me help you. Your kidneys are already weak. Don't hold it in." The woman's face turned a little ugly, and she looked at Luohan strangely. Kidney deficiency? He looked tall and powerful, but she couldn't tell that this kind of man had kidney deficiency. Under such a gaze, Luohan's originally calm expression also cracked a little. Before he could speak, Luo Zhan reached out to help the woman. The beautiful woman hurriedly stepped back and said, "No need, no need. Mr. Lu, just go. Io, you're not dizzy anymore?" Luo Zhan's tone was a little sharp, but after saying it, he realized that he seemed to be a little sarcastic. He coughed lightly and pretended to be happy. "That's great. Let's go back first. It always takes him a long time to go to the bathroom." Luo Zhan. Luohan's face darkened as he roared. Luo Zhan pulled the woman back and said, "You're welcome. This is what I should do." His footsteps were so fast that the woman stumbled and almost fell. "Are you Luo Zhan?" The woman obviously knew him and asked, "What's your relationship with Mr. Lu?" "Oh, we lived together for a while." "You don't live together anymore?" "Yes, this guy has too many bad habits. He doesn't like to be clean, he doesn't like to take a bath or wash his feet. More importantly, he doesn't like to flush the toilet. I can't stand it. He likes to sing every morning, and his singing is terrible. In the beginning, I tried to persuade him, but later I found that I couldn't persuade him, so I moved out. Sigh, this kind of person is unlucky." The woman looked understanding and smiled awkwardly. "That's not very good. Isn't it?" The few girlfriends he had couldn't stand him. "Oh, by the way, do you like him?" "Wan Lily, gee, I didn't expect you to be like this, Luohan." Chapter 798. The woman smiled, shook her head, and said, "No, I just accidentally bumped into him. I thought you were interested in him. Why don't you choose me instead of him?" Luo Zhan smiled with satisfaction. Before the woman said anything, he walked toward the crowd. The woman looked at Luo Zhan's back gratefully and muttered to herself, "He looks very tall and handsome. I didn't expect him to be such a person. Ah, what a pity." When Luohan came out of the bathroom, many girls looked at him differently. Luo Zhan was drinking beer with Lao Li, and there was a girl sitting next to him. They seemed to be chatting very well. Lao Li thought that Luohan must be the most popular person tonight, but who knew that the limelight was stolen by Luo Zhan? Louis Han was also at ease. He talked with his colleagues for a while. Seeing that more and more people surrounded Luo Zhan, he also walked over with a beer bottle. Luo Zhan was talking to a girl about watching a movie. The girl looked coquettish and shouted, "Little bunnies are so cute. Why do you eat little bunnies? It's too cruel." Luo Zhan laughed out and said, "Little bunnies are very cute. Why do you also eat little bunnies?" The crowd burst into laughter, and someone directly spat out a mouthful of beer. The girl blushed on the spot, stamped her feet, and said coquettishly, "Luo Zhan, you are so bad. I said chicken. You can say little bunnies. Why can't I say little bunnies?" Luo Zhan looked innocent and shrugged. Louis Han inexplicably felt a little uncomfortable. This guy was really easy to attract. So was he single just because he liked men? Otherwise, with his glib tongue, how could he not have a partner? Louis Han pouted, got up, took out the key, and left after saying goodbye to his colleagues. Looking at the time, it was only 9 o'clock in the evening. So boring. Louis Han drove past the famous bar street in Kingstown, but suddenly, he saw a familiar figure. At the moment, he was walking out with a girl, wearing a cool black leather coat, looking a little handsome. Suddenly stopping, Louis Han looked over. That figure, that face, was clearly Luo Zhan. However, wasn't Luo Zhan still barbecue outdoors? How could they get here so quickly? Moreover, he changed his clothes too quickly. He was clearly wearing a set of loser sportswear just now. Luo Zhan pulled, and pressed the girl against the wall. Then, he lowered his head and kissed her deeply. Surprisingly, the girl didn't resist. She hugged him with both hands and catered to him. After kissing for more than a minute, their movements became more and more passionate, and Luo Zhan actually put his hand under the girl's skirt. Louis Han's eyes widened and he cursed in a low voice, "So open?" Fortunately, the girl pressed his hand down and seemed to say something. Luo Zhan laughed, then pulled the girl up and walked down the stairs. The two soon walked to a nearby parking lot. "Hey, this guy." Louis Han suddenly felt a little ridiculous. He had been so guarded against him these days. It turned out that Luo Zhan still liked women. However, that day in Ireland, Luo Zhan's expression did not seem to be fake. Could it be that this kid was a double? Chapter 799. Just when he was almost home, his phone rang. It was Luo Zhan. Louis Han snorted and picked up the phone. "Hello?" Luo Zhan's voice sounded not very sober. "Did you drink too much?" "A little. I can't drive." "Where are you?" His voice did sound a little drowsy, but Louis Han didn't want to talk to him anymore. He drove the car into the underground parking lot and said lazily, "I'm going home." "How could you do this?" Luo Zhan's voice became loud. "You didn't say anything." "I was drunk to death by these girls." Louis Han snorted, unfastened the seatbelt, opened the door, and didn't care. "I see that you are also having a good time. Let the girl just send you back, or the two of us can go to a room and have fun. That's all. Bye." Luo Zhan's phone was hung up. He scratched his head in annoyance and scolded, "You have no conscience. Damn. Do you have to be so careful?" "Luo Zhan, what are you doing inside?" "The beauty is waiting for you," Lao Li shouted. Luo Zhan put away the phone and shouted, "I know." In the luxurious bar, all kinds of beauties came and went. Some were enchanting, and some were energetic. Many men swept their eyes over the beauties, looking for their next target. Among them, a woman in a red dress was the most eye-catching. Many men at the scene were attracted by her, which made her unhappy. Her white and tender legs were crossed, sitting on the high bar chair. Under the red dress, it was dazzling and dazzling. A young and handsome man came over with a slender and beautiful crystal glass, sat down next to the beauty, ordered a glass of Bloody Mary, and then looked at the beauty, thinking that he was handsome. "Beauty, you don't look very good. Are you alone? Yu Lily turned her head and looked over. Her beautiful eyes turned slightly, and she ignored him. The man was not discouraged and chuckled. Is it convenient for me to sit here? Aren't you already sitting here? The man laughed. My name is Shinjilia. What about you? Why should I tell you? Yu Lily gave him a flirtatious look, which was even more enchanting. Mr. Shen, when you see a beautiful woman, will you seduce her like this? No, no, no. When I make friends, I never look at appearances. Shinjilia suddenly reached out and moved his hand to Yu Lily's ear. Yu Lily was shocked and was about to avoid it when she suddenly heard a soft sound in her ear. She turned her head and saw a bright red rose. Shinjilia retracted his hand. Do you believe in fate? Some people only need a glance to confirm that it's you. As he spoke, he gave her the rose in his hand and smiled brightly. What's your name? Yu Lily smiled, took the rose, and said softly, Li Xiaoyu. Li? Or Li? Little fish of dawn. What a cute name. The bartender at the bar handed over the prepared Bloody Mary. Try the specialty here. It's a very special wine. When Yu Lily saw the wine, she laughed to herself. This wine didn't smell like alcohol at first, but it had a strong after-effect. Many people used this wine to deceive some girls who were not very sensible, and then they could do whatever they wanted. Chapter 800. Bloody Mary, the Nobility of Wine. Shinjilia winked. Yu Lily smiled, pushed the wine back, and said, I'm sorry, I like red wine. How about a bottle? Yu Lily gently put her hand on Shinjilia's hand and tempted him. How about a bottle of 82 Lafite to take away? Such a stunner, such a stunning beauty, who could resist? Shinjilia felt his throat tighten, touched her hand, and asked, where to? Yu Lily looked calm, looked at him, and pushed him back. Didn't you just want to take me away? Shinjilia smiled, nodded, looked at the person at the bar, and said, 82 Lafite, do you have it? Yes. Soon, the bartender took out a bottle and handed it to them. While Shinjilia was paying the bill, Yu Lily got down from the high bar chair and whispered, I'm going to touch up my makeup first. Wait for me for a few minutes. Shinjilia believed it, looked at her affectionately, and nodded. Okay. Yu Lily grabbed her handbag and walked slowly, but when she turned the corner, she quietly breathed a sigh of relief. She took out her mobile phone and walked quickly to another safe passage. She opened WeChat and found a contact. Before she sent a message, the money was transferred. Seeing the 3,800 yuan, Yu Lily smiled and walked out of the bar in a good mood. A flashy Ferrari was parked at the door of the bar, but neither the windshield nor the doors on both sides could see what was going on inside. Yu Lily just glanced at it and walked away indifferently. Inside the Ferrari, a pair of eyes were always on her, watching her leave. Su Qing watched her leave, glanced at O Ming in the passenger seat, and said, Mr. O, Miss Yu has paid off all the debts. I checked her transfer records. It seems that she borrowed 5,000 yuan from Li Siqing's wife before. Later, she sold a few bags and got more than 300,000 yuan. After paying off Mrs. Li's money, she borrowed 200,000 yuan from a man named Louis Han. It has been more than a week. The pressure around O Ming was getting lower and lower, and he looked ahead with a cold face. Yu Lily's tall and slender figure in red looked beautiful and graceful. She's not working now? Yes. Every night I go to the bar. To be a wine tray. O Ming's face darkened, and he narrowed his eyes. A bartender? Yes, she seduced those rich men with her beauty, tricked them into buying expensive wine, and then ran away. I'm afraid she has succeeded, so now she has to go to another bar to work. Su Cheng's scalp was numb. He wasn't an ordinary assistant. When O Ming and Yu Lily were entangled, he had more or less heard about it. Later, when they broke up, O Ming became very hard-working, which Su Cheng saw. Unexpectedly, after 4 years, Ming still couldn't forget that woman. This was not a good thing. Follow him. Yes. Su Qing started the car and drove forward. The imperial capital was huge, and the bar street was especially long. The Ferrari was stopped by the security guards, so Ming got out of the car and followed them. Chapter 801. Ming walked slowly. Watching her flirting with other men, he sneered in his heart, but he did not go forward. Cheating, selling her face, selling her body, this woman really did everything. So cheap. Ming looked at her and looked at the time. From the time she went to the bar to the time she said, "I need to go to the bathroom." It took them less than half an hour to get there. Seeing Yu Lily walking in the direction of the bathroom, Ming quickly followed her. However, as expected, Yu Lily did not go to the bathroom, but turned a corner and walked into the safety passage. It was very quiet in the safety passage, and the sound of Yu Lily's high heels could be heard. Ming stood at the entrance of the safety passage and did not follow her in. Standing at the door, Ming lit a cigarette, blew a smoke ring, and laughed at himself. What am I doing? Stalking my ex-girlfriend? Or stalking my ex-mistress? In front of him was a reflective metal door. Ming looked at himself inside, and after a while, he sneered and whispered, "You are also cheap." Yu Lily walked out of the bar, yawned, and looked at the money she had earned tonight. In the past week, she had earned nearly 100,000 yuan. With another 2,000 yuan, she could return 100,000 yuan to Luihan first, and the big stone in her heart would not be so heavy. Looking at the time, it was already after 12 o'clock in the evening. Yu Lily stretched out and walked out of the bar street. But before she went out, she heard the sound of a steel pipe hitting the palm of her hand. Yu Lily stopped, looked at the bright outside, and did not dare to go out. He subconsciously stopped in his tracks and took a step back. However, someone suddenly shouted outside, "Stop!" Yu Lily's heart was even more shocked. She strode back and turned to escape. But suddenly, a hand reached in and pulled her out. Yu Lily shouted angrily, "What are you doing?" But the person who reached out to catch her did not have any pity, grabbed her and threw her to the ground. Yu Lily was caught off guard and fell to the ground. Her elbow was burning, and when she looked down, she found it had been rubbed. However, the light that shone on her body was immediately blocked by those tall figures. She looked up and saw 4 to 5 men with tattoos on their arms, each holding a steel pipe. They were looking down at her with sinister expressions. "You. What do you want to do?" Yu Lily shrank back in fear. "Help. What are you doing?" "Shut up." The men with big tattoos looked at her, and one of them was chewing gum. Suddenly, he spat out the gum and spat it on Yu Lily's head. Yu Lily exclaimed and quickly slapped away the chewing gum. "Take out your phone." A man reached out with a steel pipe in his hand. "Isn't it easy to earn this kind of money? So many fools have been taken advantage of by you so much that even their parents wouldn't be able to recognize them. Feel good, right? Cell phone." Yu Lily's body trembled, and she took out her cell phone with a trembling hand. The man took the cell phone and sneered, "Oh, it's the latest iPhone. Unlock it." Yu Lily unlocked the screen. The man clicked into WeChat and went straight to the WeChat wallet. He looked like he had seen a ghost and shouted, "Wow, more than 90,000 yuan. So much money, you can spend it. Anyway, it's so easy for you to earn money. Come on, tell me, what's the payment password?" Chapter 802. Yu Lily looked at them and gritted her teeth. "I need this money to pay off my debt. I owe hundreds of thousands of yuan. If I don't pay it, I will be beaten to death." Yu Lily looked at them with red eyes and looked like she was about to cry. "Please, I'll give you half of it, okay? Leave some for me to eat." "Oh, the little beauty is begging us, but you can rest assured that we only want money. Be good, don't be rude. What's the password?" Just transfer it to us. He played with the phone and looked surprised. It turns out that you don't need a password. Come on, open the lock. Then he pulled Yu Lily's hand forcibly. Good girl, I'll help you withdraw cash. Just give me the card. Tell me the password, and I'll get it myself. Yu Lily grabbed her hand desperately, and her tears were about to fall. She shook her head and said, I really owe a lot of money, and the date of paying off the debt is coming. You are forcing me to the road to death. Don't say that. We are all in the bar street. Who doesn't know each other? Look at your famous brands. Who will believe that you owe money? The big man sneered. I have been watching you for a long time. Several brothers have asked me about you. If you don't give me money, I will give you to the police. You think you are a bartender, but in fact, you are a swindler. What's the difference between you and us? As he spoke, he had pressed his finger on the middle button. The withdrawal was successful. Another man squatted down and grabbed Yu Lily's bag. After finding the card that had just been withdrawn, he asked, What's the password? Yu Lily looked at them, full of despair. Suddenly, he heard footsteps behind him. This was the safe passage for employees to go to and from work. At this time, there should be few people going in and out. Everyone turned to look at the passage. Under the golden lights on the roadside, the passage looked particularly dim. There was smoke coming out of it. The smoke was very thin, and it was obviously the best tobacco. The sound of leather shoes came out, and everyone saw a straight and tall figure. Dressed in a burgundy checkered suit, he walked out leisurely, holding a cigarette between his long fingers. His eyes were slightly narrowed as he walked out. Slowly looking around, Oh Ming slowly exhaled a mouthful of smoke and asked, What are you doing? Yu Lily didn't look back, but when she heard the voice, her breathing suddenly quickened. Even her heartbeat seemed to suddenly slow down, and her back stiffened. She didn't dare to look back, but she could clearly sense that he was behind her. The wondrous feeling was like a tide surging over her head, robbing her of her thoughts and defeating her inch by inch. When the big flowery arms saw Oh Ming, they all straightened up in displeasure and shouted, Who are you? Oh Ming stood there calmly. Suddenly, his phone rang. His movements were neither too fast nor too slow, exuding a natural aristocratic aura. Oh Ming picked up the phone, puffed out a smoke ring, and grunted in acknowledgement. Behind the European First Day Bar, the safe passage is here. Oh Ming's voice was not flustered at all, as if he was just chatting with the person on the phone. But when the person in front of him heard it, his face changed, and he roared, Hey, stinky boy. Then, he swung the steel pipe out with a threatening face. Oh Ming suddenly raised his eyes. His pair of shimmering peach blossom eyes seemed to flash with a sharp light, as if they were sharp blades. Such an attitude caused that person to laugh out loud in anger. He cursed, Bastard. He swung the steel pipe and threw it toward Oh Ming's face. Authors Weibo, Uncle Wan Lily VIP Group, 5519499349. Chapter 803. Oh Ming didn't seem to notice it. Yu Lily exclaimed, Be careful. Almost at the same time, Yu Lily got up from the ground, but in a moment, she heard a dull bang sound. She opened her eyes wide and looked at the top of her head. She saw Oh Ming reach out and hold the steel pipe firmly in his hand. He was unarmed, but he was not at a disadvantage. Holding the phone in one hand and the steel pipe in the other, he looked at the man with tattooed arms. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he seemed to chuckle. Then he twisted his big hand, and under the shocked eyes of the big man, he hooked his elbow up. While the big man's attention was on his elbow, Oh Ming's eyes flashed with the light of success, and when the big man was unprepared, he kicked the man's weakest point. The big man screamed, bent down and covered his lower body, and his face changed dramatically. Such a scene made everyone's face change on the spot, and they stepped forward with the steel pipe. But Oh Ming was not afraid at all, and his voice did not fluctuate at all. He said slowly, Well, okay, by the way, bring the police here. There is a robbery here, and tell them that O Ming asked them to come. O Ming. Hearing these two words, everyone's expression changed, and the originally surging and powerful aura suddenly became dull. O Ming didn't seem to notice the changes in front of him. He smoked the last puff of the cigarette, squinted his eyes, and threw the cigarette butt on the ground. His leather shoes gently stepped on it, and the fire disappeared under his shoes. Wait a minute. You are O Ming? One of the big men asked. O Ming squinted at him and did not answer. Instead, he stretched out his hand and said, "Give it to me." WH. What? What did they take from you? O Ming looked at Yu Lily and asked. Hearing this voice, Yu Lily almost couldn't hold back her tears. There was a surge of heat in her eyes, but soon she calmed down and said, "Mobile phone and bank card." "Give it to me." O Ming stretched out his hand and looked at them coldly. The big men looked at each other and finally handed the mobile phone and bank card to O Ming. "Don't call the police, let's go right now." While speaking, he looked straight at the mobile phone in O Ming's hand, which was still on the call page, with a little pleading in his eyes. O Ming's eyes turned cold and he shouted, "Get lost." They all heaved a sigh of relief at the same time, picked up the steel pipes and ran. O Ming threw the phone and the card back to Yu Lily and walked away. He actually didn't even look at her. Yu Lily felt a little frustrated. She gritted her teeth and shouted, "Wait a minute." O Ming acted as if he hadn't heard anything. His footsteps were light, but his speed wasn't slow. In 2 or 3 steps, he was already far away. She picked up the things and chased after him in her high heels. She shouted, "O Ming." The frequency of O Ming's footsteps did not change at all as he strode forward. Yu Lily was angry and roared, "O Ming, stop right there." O Ming's footsteps came to a halt. "O Yang Ming, stop right there." Such a tone, it was no different from how it was in the past. It was as if the person standing behind him was still the old Yu Lily. However, it was a pity. The O Ming of today was no longer the O Ming of the past. Chapter 804. Yu Lily looked at his determined back, and her heart ached. Her hands and feet had been thrown to the ground by the tattooed men just now, and they were still hurting. She looked down and found that the wound was not deep, but she couldn't keep up with them. She simply took off her high heels, ran up with them in her hand, and shouted, "O Ming, wait for me." However, O Ming acted as if he hadn't heard anything and continued to stride forward. Just as he turned a corner, he walked into a bar. Yu Lily quickly followed him in. O Ming walked straight in, and someone recognized him and greeted him directly, shouting, "Master O, you are finally here. Come here, sit here." O Ming was invited to a relatively remote and quiet sofa, on which sat 3 or 4 men, surrounded by beautiful women. Every one of them was hot and looked beautiful and sexy. Yu Lily followed all the way, and soon someone noticed her and asked, "Master O, this is, I don't know." O Ming sat down on the sofa and took the wine handed over by one of the men. When the man heard that, he had a look of understanding on his face. He saw Yu Lily holding high heels and wearing clothes that looked very good on the surface, but when he looked closely, he found that it was just a high-quality imitation. Even that pair of shoes had the classic snakeskin logo of Bulgari. This kind of shoes was relatively unpopular, but if she could wear it, it was undoubtedly fake. In all likelihood, she was some girl with a poor background and came to this kind of place to catch a rich man. However, she was really beautiful. Her figure was also good. She was petite and exquisite, and her skin looked tender. If she could have sex with him, it would be worth the money. The man thought he had seen through her, so he greeted Yu Lily, raised his eyebrows, and said, "Hello, I am the second young master of Enling Group." However, Yu Lily ignored him, looked straight at O Ming, and said, "I have something to say to you. Can you come out for a moment?" She had a lot of words to say to him. She had accumulated a lot of words for 4 years. In the past 4 years, there was not a day that she didn't miss him. Especially when she was desperate a few days ago, she missed him so much that she almost went crazy. Oh Ming squinted at her, took a sip of wine with a smile, and did not speak. Holding a glass of wine, she coiled around him like a water snake and said in a sweet voice, "If every woman pesters him like you, our Master O will be busy to death. Master O doesn't want to talk to you now. I advise you to go out quickly. There may be some hope to hook up with other rich men, but Master O..." Hee, that's right. A young lady also came over and stood on the other side of O Ming. The #1 bachelor in the capital is our Master O, and the #1 dream lover of single women in the country is also our Master O. You should be happy to see our Master O. Let's go. Yu Lily put her shoes down and quickly put them on. She looked at O Ming with a pair of beautiful big watery eyes that seemed to be able to speak to him. There wasn't even a single word, but there was a dazzling halo that made people unable to help but pay attention to it. Chapter 805. Since when can anyone come in our bar? O Ming took a sip of wine and looked at second young Master Chu. Don't you think it's a bit degrading to let such a person in? These words were like a sharp arrow, piercing her heart, and she was instantly dripping with blood. Who was O Ming talking about? Yu Lily looked at him, pursed her lips, and did not move. Didn't you hear? You are standing here and degrading us. Go away. A young lady held a glass of wine, and under her long false eyelashes, her eyes were full of contempt. You have been driven away like this, but you still don't leave. You are too cheap, aren't you? Another young lady echoed. Who do you think you are? Shut up. Yu Lily looked at them and shouted with a sullen face, I am talking to O Ming. Can you replace him? When the two women heard this, they were speechless and looked at O Ming. O Ming lazily looked at the sofa with his legs crossed, as if he had not heard their words. His other hand was holding a mobile phone, and no one knew what he was looking at. Second young Master Chu wanted Yu Lily to stay. At this moment, he quickly said, well, let's not talk about it. Anyway, today is my birthday. Everyone should give me face and talk less. Waiter, bring the cake up. The waiter quickly took the order and brought up the cake. A group of people sang the birthday song, but no one invited Yu Lily to sit down. Second young Master Chu cut the cake, and the young lady sitting next to O Ming immediately came to take a piece of cake, handed it to O Ming, and said, Master O, come and eat the cake. O Ming avoided it with disgust, and his eyes fell on Yu Lily, who was standing next to him, and said, haven't you left yet? Gee, you want to get along with me alone. Is it because you want to do something bad to me? O Ming's words made everyone on the scene laugh. Yu Lily looked at him all the time, and her eyes were stubborn. I have a lot to say to you. Say it now. O Ming straightened up, put down his crossed legs, and looked at Yu Lily. If you have finished, get out of here. Yu Lily breathed quickly, and her eyes were slightly hot. Looking at his sloppy face, she said seriously, I really have something to tell you. Alone. Sure enough, you're plotting against me. Leave, I'm not interested in a slut like you. O Ming wrapped his arms around the two young ladies beside him. The two women saw the surprise in each other's eyes and snuggled up to him. Don't let me see you in the future. You spoil my appetite. O Ming. Yu Lily took a step forward. Suddenly, her hand accidentally hit a hand that was holding a cake. The woman on O Ming's right side cried out in surprise. The cake in her hand fell and landed on O Ming's leather shoes. The scene was silent. Yu Lily's eyes widened as she stared at it. Her heartbeats suddenly accelerated. O Ming looked like a sloppy person, but when it came to certain things, he had a strange obsession with cleanliness. For example, a close-fitting shirt, a car, and leather shoes. As expected, O Ming's face immediately darkened. The woman was so scared that her face turned pale. She immediately grabbed the cake and shouted, I'm sorry, Master O. I'm really sorry. Get out of my way. O Ming's voice was surprisingly cold. It's none of your business. The woman was stunned and looked at Oh Ming. Chapter 806. His gaze was like a blade, carrying with it a cold and sharp edge, causing her to freeze on the spot. Yu Lily looked at him, her eyes redder, and she couldn't believe it. What did you say? Are you deaf? Oh Ming looked at her with a cold face, but his lips were curved with a contemptuous and sarcastic smile. Tell her. Another woman sitting next to Oh Ming looked at Yu Lily and said, Are you deaf? Master O asked you to lick it clean. Yu Lily's nose was sour, and she looked at him incredulously. Her voice was a little high, and she shouted, Oh Ming. Second young Master Chu saw that Oh Ming was really angry. After looking at his companions, he stopped him with a stern look and said, How can you call our Master O's name? Did you hear that? You'd better obey Master O's order, otherwise. Oh Ming squinted his beautiful peach eyes slightly, squinted, put his feet on the table in front of him, lifted his toes, and said with no expression, Lick it clean, otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. The woman who was still desperately apologizing, seeing such a situation, stood up, went behind Yu Lily, pushed her hard, and said, Didn't you hear? I asked you to lick it clean. Yu Lily's breathing became more and more rapid, and her eyes became redder and redder. Looking at Oh Ming's shoes covered with cake in front of her, she was pushed and staggered. However, her body was still straight, and she looked at Oh Ming and said, Oh. As she spoke, her nasal voice became more and more heavy. Do you have to humiliate me like this? Hearing that, Oh Ming suddenly laughed. He lowered his head and looked down. That delicate and beautiful face was indescribably evil. Oh Ming's beautiful and coquettish face made the girls at the scene couldn't help but stare at him, and their cheeks became slightly red. Humiliate? Oh Ming repeated these two words, and his smile became wider. Suddenly, he raised his eyes and looked at Yu Lily. His pair of peach eyes were full of unspeakable ridicule and sarcasm. You said that I am humiliating you? This kind of smile, this kind of tone, it was something that had never been seen before. Yu Lily still had a trace of fantasy, but in an instant, under such a look, it was all disillusioned. In the past, Oh Ming would never have spoken to her in such a tone. At that time, the way he looked at her was full of tenderness and sweetness. At that time, it could be said that he held her in the palm of his hand. He protected her carefully, as if he was raising a canary. He was afraid that she would fly away, afraid that she would get lost. In the beginning, she enjoyed his protection and love, but gradually, she was tired of this feeling. She wanted freedom, she wanted to escape. But now, he had succeeded in escaping, and he had paid the price of killing those two children with his own hands. So, he won't accept me anymore, right? No matter how much she longed for him, no matter how much she missed him, no matter how much she liked him, he would never treat her the way he used to, right? Yu Lily resisted the urge to cry. She smiled gently, shook her head, and said, No, I'm sorry. I thought too much. I had a lot to say to you, but now, it's not necessary. Everything was all ready, there was no need. Just like that, the relationship between them completely ended 4 years ago. There's no need to humiliate yourself like that, Yu Lily. I'll never see you again, Oh Ming. Yu Lily turned around, straightened her back and walked out. This was the last bit of dignity she had left. This time, let her say goodbye. After 8 o'clock, tomorrow will still be 8 o'clock. Chapter 807. Seeing this, Oh Ming played with the crystal cup in his hand, tilted his head, looked at her back, and said slowly, Did I let you go? Seeing this, Second Master Chu immediately went forward to stop Yu Lily and said, Hey, you want to leave after making trouble? It's not that simple. Seeing this, Yu Lily gritted her teeth, turned around, looked at Oh Ming, and roared, What else do you want? This pair of shoes is actually not expensive. They are handmade in Italy by Master Fendilla. This is the last pair of shoes before he retired. I like it very much. When I bought it, it was 370,000 or 80,000 yuan. I'll give you a discount and compensate you with 300,000 yuan. Hearing this, Yu Lily's face turned white again. Why do you look like this? Oh Ming saw her face, and his heart seemed to be pricked by a needle. It was just 300,000 yuan. In the past, Yu Lily could spend hundreds of thousands of yuan a day to buy a bag or a pair of shoes. It was not an exaggeration to say that she spent money like water. Now, just a mere 300,000 yuan was enough to make her have such an expression. But at the same time, there was an indescribable sense of carefreeness that enveloped him. Didn't I say, lick it clean? Oh Ming's lips formed a cruel smile. As long as you lick it clean, you don't have to pay. Yu Lily's face was extremely ugly, and her eyes were fixed on Oh Ming, as if she wanted to see something on his face. But she couldn't see anything. The woman who had just pushed Yu Lily's back again with a proud expression on her face. Just like that woman, many of the people inside were also waiting to watch a good show. Lick it clean. Second Master Chu's accomplices immediately echoed, and some people even whistled. Yu Lily's face was hot, white and red. She looked at Oh Ming, full of hurt. Taking a deep breath, Yu Lily felt a little dry, and her throat and heart were empty. She asked in a low voice, "Are you serious?" Oh Ming laughed and crossed his legs on the table, revealing his shoes that were covered in cake. He leaned lazily on the sofa and said, 300,000 yuan. You can leave after you pay me on the spot. The people around started to make a ruckus, especially second young Master Chu's accomplices, who whistled even louder. Yu Lily's hands hung by her sides, clenched into fists, and said nothing. Anyway, you've been selling yourself for 4 years. You must have changed a lot of mistresses, right? It shouldn't be a problem to borrow 300,000 yuan from so many regular customers, right? Ah, look at my bad memory. Given your hunger and thirst, how can an ordinary person satisfy you? With those men, it's probably just a one-time business deal. TSK, no wonder you're so miserable. Didn't I teach you that you have to be more tolerant of some things? Oh Ming. Hearing these 3 words, Oh Ming smiled brightly, and it was a little cruel, which deeply hurt Yu Lily's eyes. Pointing to his shoes, Oh Ming raised his eyebrows. His peach blossom eyes were deep, and it was hard to see his emotions. He said, "Look at you, I don't think you can borrow it. Come on, lick it." The expression on Oh Ming's face was no different from his usual appearance. It was so understated and so casual. It seemed that it was fun to tease her like this. Chapter 808. The young lady next to Oh Ming laughed and encouraged, "Lick it. It's tiring to do this business. How many times do you have to sell it for 300,000 yuan? It's much easier to lick it." That's right. Young Master O's shoes are very clean, and the cake is also very fresh. Just treat it as a different tableware. It's not easy to earn 300,000 yuan. Another lady chuckled with gloating eyes. Hearing such words around her, Yu Lily's eyes flickered. Looking at Oh Ming's shoes, there was an obvious struggle on her face. Yes, it's 300,000 yuan. She worked herself to the bone, risking the possibility of being arrested and sent to jail, shuttling back and forth between bars every night as a bartender. Wasn't it for the money? 300,000 yuan. How much could some senior white-collar workers earn after working for a whole year? She worked as a wine carrier and had to be on tenterhooks every day to swindle those suckers. How much money could she earn after working for more than a week? As long as she bent down and licked it, she wouldn't have to compensate 300,000 yuan. Wasn't it better than making money by selling her body? At the very least, she didn't have to be labeled as a prostitute. At the very least, she earned it fair and square. She didn't have to be a sugar daddy or sell her body. She just sold her dignity, that's all. No. She had no dignity, hadn't she? What bullshit dignity? It had long been destroyed when she had no money and was forced to find how to work as a bartender to make a living. If she had dignity, she would not have gone back to Haoyu. If she had dignity, she would not have followed Ming here with a glimmer of hope and been humiliated like this. It was too ridiculous to talk about dignity at a time like this. Yu Lily's eyes flickered. Suddenly, she smiled and looked at Ming. When Ming saw the look on her face, the smile on his face became more and more sinister. However, the corners of his mouth became wider and wider, and the evil aura on his face became more and more unbridled, making it difficult for people to see his emotions. If I lick it, you don't need my compensation, right? There were tears in Yu Lily's eyes, but she stubbornly raised her head and didn't let the tears gather more. She looked at Ming with a smile on her face. It was bright and sad. Second Master Chu clearly saw the expression on Yu Lily's face, sighed secretly, and couldn't help but feel a little sorry. After all, such a beautiful woman with such a good figure and skin was hard to come by. What a pity. After offending Ming, it was basically over. If word got out, Yu Lily wouldn't be able to survive. Those who were tainted by her would definitely not have a good ending. What a pity. Taking a step forward, second young Master Chu said, "Of course, don't you know this person? This is young Master O, the only heir of Oya. He definitely keeps his word." She knew. Of course she knew. How could Yu Lily not know? Ming never went back on his words. "The only thing I regret is sleeping with a woman like you. Because of you, I killed my brother. Unless my second brother comes back to life, I will never have anything to do with you in this life." Yu Lily thought. She had no idea what Ming was thinking. Get lost. Be smart and don't appear in Kingstown in the future. Otherwise, I will find someone to kill you. B*TCH. Ming played with the wine glass and silently pointed to his shoes. Ming, with a choked voice, Yu Lily bit her lower lip and said, "That diary, have you finished reading it?" Chapter 809. Diary. Ming thought of the diary, and his eyes, which were half squinting lazily, suddenly became sharp and looked straight at Yu Lily, wishing to cut her into pieces. In that diary, Yu Lily's most brutal side was recorded. He never thought that the girl he had protected and raised for 3 years would have such a heavy heart and such cruel means. In order to break up with him, she killed her own twins. Did she really hate him so much? Ming withdrew his hand, and his malice was obvious. He smashed the wine glass in his hand toward Yu Lily's body, and the delicate and clear liquid inside was immediately thrown out. The wine glass hit Yu Lily's abdomen, and then fell to the ground. The crisp sound accompanied by the splashing of fragments came out at the same time. No one expected that Ming, who had always been calm, would suddenly make a move. Everyone was shocked and began to guess the relationship between him and Yu Lily. It seemed that they knew each other. Was it really an old lover relationship? Yu Lily stood in the same place, gritted her teeth and looked at him, saying, "You haven't finished reading it, Ming." Yes, he hadn't finished reading it. He patiently read more than half of it from the beginning. Every word and every page was filled with her hatred for him. It was a diary full of hatred. The hatred was like a sharp knife, cutting him through the words. When he finally saw his twins killed by her, there was only one thought in Ming's mind: kill her. How could such a woman live in this world? Ming squinted and chuckled, changing the subject. "Miss you, this trick works on your lovers, but it doesn't work on me at all. Hurry up, don't waste everyone's time. It's supposed to be used for pleasure. Otherwise, do you think your licking is so valuable?" Yu Lily's heart was stuffy, and she stared at him with red eyes. He was serious, and he really hated her. Yu Lily's heart was stuffy and painful. Under everyone's expectant eyes, she stepped forward step by step. Seeing Yu Lily's action, the scene immediately boiled. Second Master Chu's companions whistled, and the ladies next to him held their hands and looked at her with interest. As she approached, she stared straight at him and said, "Now that the diary is gone, it's probably in Lida's hands." "So what? Oh Ming stretched out his foot. What's the use of reading a whore's diary other than knowing how you work? His words caused the surrounding people to laugh. Yu Lily's fists hung by her side, and she gritted her teeth to hold back. Humiliation. Oh Ming knew her too well. He knew best what kind of words would hurt her the most. Yu Lily was well aware of that, so she sneered and pretended not to care. You were the one who taught me all the postures that I, the whore, know. Weren't you happy when you were teaching me? Oh Ming stopped smiling and looked at her with a sullen face. Chapter 8:10. Yu Lily saw his increasingly gloomy face and laughed happily. You look tall and powerful, but in fact, you only last 5 minutes each time. Oh, sometimes less than 3 minutes, and you are embarrassed to go to the doctor. Oh Ming, this is an illness, and you have to treat it. Hearing Yu Lily's words, everyone looked at Oh Ming in unison. Through their conversation, the bystanders already had their suspicions about their relationship. Hearing this topic at this moment, maybe it was true? Provoke me? Oh Ming leaned lazily on the sofa and chuckled. Are you sure you don't feel good every time? Yu Lily saw his smile and felt a little scared. She sneered. Do you think you can? I can only pretend to have orgasms every time to cater to you, otherwise, will you let me go? Oh Ming smiled and looked away, put his feet down, stood up, and walked toward her step by step. Yu Lily felt something was wrong and subconsciously pushed back. However, Second Master Chu behind her immediately pushed her. Oh Ming opened his arms and held her in his arms. Yu Lily's heart jumped, looked up at him, and suddenly breathed quickly. The distance between me and him is so close. However, Yu Lily saw the gloomy look in Oh Ming's eyes, and she was alarmed. Before she could recover, her body was suddenly pushed and fell on the sofa. The beauty sitting next to her immediately avoided. Yu Lily struggled to stand up, but before she could support her body, she felt a hot body covering her body. Unprepared, her lips were sealed. Oh Ming's mouth had the smell of tobacco and liquor. The clear touch and smell told her that it was not fake. But, this was still a public place. The people next to them screamed and sat aside excitedly. Yu Lily's heart was in pain, and she struggled hard with her hands and feet. However, Oh Ming easily grabbed her hand and raised it high above her head. Yu Lily's hands were very thin, and one of Oh Ming's hands was enough to hold both of them. Every time you do this, can't you change your way of struggling, huh? Oh Ming's eyes did not contain any warmth, and there was even a sense of revenge in his peach blossom eyes. Didn't you say that I didn't make you feel good? Why don't you try it in front of everyone? Yu Lily was so scared that she shouted, What do you want to do? Oh. Oh Ming stuffed all of her words back into her stomach. His other big hand unscrupulously touched her waistline and easily tore apart her red dress. Yu Lily only felt that her body was cold, and her chest was suddenly exposed, revealing the pink silicone. Everyone was even more excited, and picked up their mobile phones to shoot videos. Oh Ming's kiss was aggressive and punishing. His strong manly scent made her even more afraid. But inexplicably, as she twisted her body, she felt an indescribable numbness, and she couldn't help but moan. Oh Ming's eyes turned into crescents as he pulled her up. Wherever his big hands passed, the sound of clothes tearing could be heard. The tight waistline, full snow white, and the delicate porcelain-like skin were all Yu's eyes. Oh, and Yu was. And her tight waistline, plump snow-white breasts, and delicate porcelain-like skin all made one's blood boil. Lily. Chapter 8:11. She is the best. Such a stunner is hard to come by. Yu Lily was held in his arms. Oh Ming's big palm moved inch by inch, and his hot kiss moved down from her lips. Holding him, she screamed and didn't know where she was. With her eyes half closed, she couldn't help but reach out and hold him tightly. Feeling him from chin, collarbone, the screams suddenly pulled Yu Lily back to reality. She looked around, and the stimulation under the eyes of the public made her legs tighter. Bursts of excitement came like a tide. Yu Lily couldn't help but raise her head, which brought the atmosphere of the scene to the peak. Oh Ming's breath was calm, and his hair was slightly messy. He pressed her on the back of the sofa and whispered with a smile, "So fast." The 3 words directly made Yu Lily feel even more humiliated. People around her were looking at her, and some people were taking photos with their mobile phones. On Oh Ming's body, his clothes were still neat and tidy, but they were a little messy, and they looked neat and blurry. And at this moment, unrestrained, unclothed, battered and exhausted, facing so many cameras and covering her face, Yu Lily pushed him away forcefully. Her eyes were red, and her tears were about to fall. But Oh Ming didn't let go, but lifted her torn clothes and said, "Is it good? Do you want to do it again? So many people are watching your performance. Don't let them down." Yu Lily's tears fell, and she raised her hand to slap Oh Ming's face. Slap. The loud sound made the people around quiet. The slap made Oh Ming slightly tilt his head, and his eyes darkened. Yu Lily almost broke down and cried. She pushed him away, gritted her teeth, pulled up her clothes, picked up her bag, stood up, and ran away. Being pushed like that, Oh Ming's eyes darkened. Looking at her fleeing figure, not only did his heart not feel the slightest bit of joy that he had imagined, but there was a familiar yet unfamiliar dull pain in his heart. He reached out and touched his cheek, which was burning because of the slap, and chuckled. Facing the people around him, he threatened with an evil smile, "If today's things leak out, you can try it." The people who were excited just now immediately felt like a basin of cold water had been poured on them, and they deleted the photos and videos in embarrassment. Yu Lily had never felt so embarrassed before. Her tattered clothes couldn't hide her body at all. Embarrassed, humiliated, what is self-respect? What is dignity? What is face? Nothing, nothing at all. Yu Lily stopped a taxi and gave the driver her address. She couldn't help but cry in the car. Seeing her like that, the driver was a little worried and asked, "Miss, what happened? Do you want me to call the police for you?" Yu Lily stopped crying and shook her head. By the time Yu Lily arrived at the newly rented house, it was already 20 minutes later. Stumbling on the bed, Yu Lily finally couldn't bear it and burst into tears. Why was it like this? Why was it like this? It shouldn't be like this. The humiliation that Oh Ming had given her was 100 times, 1,000 times worse than what others had given her. He had never felt so dead in his heart and despair. Yu Lily walked into the bathroom with trembling legs. She looked at herself in the mirror and felt extremely sad. Chapter 8:12. None of the orphans abandoned in the orphanage had a proper birthday. All of them were based on the date when the orphanage found the child. When Yu Lily was found, it was the 5th day of the new year. Because of the special date, if you worked during that time, you would get 3 times the salary. Therefore, in the past 17 years, Yu Lily had not had a proper birthday. She was either working part-time in a restaurant or as a manager in an amusement park. She thought that her 18th birthday would be no different from before, but this year made her feel very different. Ding dong. The doorbell rang, and Yu Lily jumped up from the sofa happily. She ran to the door and opened it directly. Seeing her like this, Oh Ming frowned and said, "You didn't ask who it was before opening the door. What if it was a bad guy?" "It won't be." Yu Lily was a little excited and looked at his hand, which was holding a big cake. "Wow, there is really a cake. Ha ha ha, give it to me." Yu Lily took the cake from Oh Ming's hand, bowed her head to smell it, and walked in with the cake. Seeing this, Oh Ming smiled and closed the door. He went in, took off his coat, and put it on the sofa. "Happy birthday." Oh Ming sat next to her and helped her open the cake. "You are 18 years old, a big girl." Yu Lily's eyes were shining, and she nodded excitedly. Especially when she saw the big chocolate cake, she was drooling. She turned to look at Oh Ming, and her eyes were shining. "Wow, such a big cake, can the two of us finish it? Oh Ming smiled widely, opened the paper plate, and helped her put 18 candles in it. After lighting them one by one, he said, "Make a wish." Ah. Yu Lily was a little disappointed. She looked at him and said, "Don't you sing the birthday song for me?" "Sing it." "What song?" "Childish." Oh Ming patted her on the head and whispered, "Hurry up and make a wish and blow out the candles." Yu Lily pouted, and her cheeks were red in the candlelight. It was like being covered with a layer of orange light, but her smile became wider and wider. She said, "I hope that I can have cake on my birthday in the future." It was a simple birthday wish, but it made Oh Ming's heart ache. His big hand touched her little head, and his eyes softened slightly. He said, There will be in the future." "Really?" Yu Lily looked at him with a smile. Her eyes were like bright stars. She turned her head, blew out the candle, and said, "I have never eaten such a big cake. I want to eat this flower. It's all yours. Eat slowly." Oh Ming sat on the side and looked at her with a smile. It was as if he was looking at a child, and there was a deeper meaning that Yu Lily couldn't understand. He had been living with her for more than 9 months. Over the past 9 months, they had become increasingly familiar with each other. The two of them shared the same bed and naturally slept together, but Oh Ming cleverly didn't cross the line. Even when he kissed her, he only lightly touched her forehead. He didn't go overboard. Today, it was finally possible. From today onwards, she would be an adult. Chapter 8:13. Done. Yu Lily handed a slice of cake to him and said, "This is the best slice I've cut. Here you go." "Thank you, Yu Lily." "You're welcome, Mr. O." Yu Lily didn't care. She cut a piece of cake for herself, picked up the fork and took a bite. The sweet taste melted in her mouth. Yu Lily felt that she was so happy that she was about to jump up. She looked up excitedly and exclaimed, "It's delicious. It's much better than Fu Lingbing's birthday cake." "Who is Fu Lingbing?" Oh Ming asked. "When we were in high school, he was the richest person in our class. He always wore branded clothes. Adidas, Nike, and Jordan were all very expensive, and when we were in the 3rd year of high school, he had an iPhone. He was so rich." Yu Lily said enviously while eating the cake, "If I had such a rich father, it would be great." Oh Ming chuckled. "If you want, I can buy you anything. Do you want a mobile phone?" "No, it's too expensive." Yu Lily looked up at him while eating the cake and said, "I heard that the mobile phone costs more than 4,000 yuan. It's so expensive. I only earn 60 yuan a day in part-time jobs. How many part-time jobs do I have to do to buy such a mobile phone?" "Little miser." Oh Ming tapped her forehead. "We don't have to be so clear between us. I like you, and I'm willing to give you money. Just take it. If you want anything in the future, just tell me directly. I'll buy it for you, or use the card I gave you to buy it yourself." Yu Lily stuck out her tongue and ate the cake. Seeing this, Oh Ming magically took out a small box from his pocket and handed it forward. "Here, a birthday gift." Yu Lily was surprised. She took the box and opened it. At a glance, she saw a watch in it. Longines. "It's so beautiful." Yu Lily picked up the watch and turned it over. "How much is this?" "It must be expensive, right?" Oh Ming was a little unhappy when he heard her mention money again. He took the watch and said, "It's a gift for you. Just take it. No matter how much it costs, I'll put it on for you." "Well." Yu Lily put the empty cake plate aside and looked at the watch with sparkling eyes. Oh Ming patiently put it on for her and asked in a magnetic voice, "Do you like it?" Yu Lily looked at the watch, and the smile on her face widened. She did not hesitate and replied, "I like it." Inadvertently, she looked up and found that his face was very close to her. Yu Lily's heart jumped. She subconsciously wanted to avoid it, but Ming took the opportunity to get close to her. His hands were on both sides of her body and kissed her lips. Lily's eyes widened. The soft touch on her lips was like cotton candy, soft and sweet. Lily was stunned. Ohs. And yous. Didn't know what. Ming squinted, held her in his arms, and slowly pressed his body down. The tip of his tongue came out and gently swept over her. Lily felt as if she had been electrocuted. Lily's hand subconsciously pushed him away. Her face was so red that it was almost hot enough to boil an egg. Lil's O's. Lil S. Her. Her you oh. You. Chapter 8:14. There was a faint smell of tobacco on his body. It was a familiar smell, but when it came from her mouth, Lily still felt very strange. Mr. O is kissing me. She had expected it, but she felt unprepared. With some resistance in her heart, Lily inexplicably felt a little like crying. Looking away, Lily pushed him away with both hands, blushed, shrank her neck, and said, I haven't taken a bath yet. I'm going to take a bath. Ming saw her nervousness and slightly released her. Lily hurriedly ran toward the direction of the room. Lily ran back to the room, and her heart was beating so fast that it seemed to have a small motor installed. When she got to the bathroom, she looked in the mirror and found that her face was shockingly red. Oh my God. So red. Lily turned on her clothes while turning on the water. Taking a long breath, Lily blushed, put her clothes on the dry ground not far from the bathtub, and took a bath in the water. What to do? Do I really have to do it with him? Lily blushed, put half of her face in the water, and blew the water. Her hands were crossed in front of her chest, and her long hair had been wet, floating in the water, looking a little dreamy. Looking at the hazy mirror in front of her, Lily blew a mouthful of water and thought of Louis Han, who had returned to his hometown for the new year. He seemed to like pure girls. If Lily got him one day and found out that she was not a virgin, what should she do? So I can't do it with Ming. But what to do? Lily soaked in the bathtub, and her face was bitter. All of a sudden, the bathroom door was opened. Lily was shocked and turned to look. Ming was standing at the door and looking at her. She quickly covered her body, and her face became redder. Looking at him, she stammered, You peeped at me taking a bath. Get out. But Ming didn't mean to go out. Instead, he walked in and reached out to undress himself. Lily stupidly watched him take off his clothes, and when he took off only his shirt and pants, she suddenly came to her senses. Lily's face was burning. She reached out and pulled the clothes next to her to cover herself. She immediately climbed up and walked toward the door, trying to bypass him. But Ming easily pulled her into his arms with his big hands. The warm and soft little body was very comfortable to hold in his arms. Lily exclaimed, but Ming bowed his head and kissed her again. His actions were wild and rough, without the gentleness and tolerance he used to show to her. Lily struggled and pushed with both hands. She resisted a little, but he picked her up and placed her in the bathtub. The two of them entered at the same time, causing the water in the bathtub to overflow. Lily was pressed under him. She accidentally choked on some water and coughed violently. Ming pulled her up and gently patted her back. Lily coughed, and her eyes turned red unconsciously, and tears quickly came out. Seeing this, Ming's eyes deepened. He lowered his head and gently kissed away her tears. His lips slowly moved down. Lily's eyes became redder. She raised her hand and pushed his face away. She looked at him pleadingly and whispered, No. Chapter 8:15. There will be no more. Such a Lily, although humble and disgusting, in this world, there is only one, and there will only be one. Closing her eyes, Lily opened her mouth, and the water poured into her mouth. The air suddenly relaxed and flowed out. The feeling of suffocation surrounded her tightly. Oh Ming, goodbye forever. Bang, bang, bang. A loud sound rang out. Yu Lily opened her eyes and sat up. Bang, bang, bang. The loud sound of knocking on the door was really there. Yu Lily got up from the bathtub, wiped her body casually, put on a bathrobe, and opened the door. The door was knocked hard, and at the same time, a woman's voice came in. Are you there? Yu Lily opened the door, and a middle-aged woman stood outside. Seeing Yu Lily's head full of water, she was a little surprised and said, "Oh, did you just take a bath?" Yu Lily smiled and nodded. "Yes, what's the matter, Mrs. Landlord?" "It's late. It should be 2:00 in the morning. What are you doing here at this time?" The landlady smiled embarrassedly and said, "I just went out to throw the garbage and forgot to bring the key. The door is too heavy, so I locked it. The old man is asleep, so I want to go over to your place." "I'm sorry." This was the 4th floor, and the landlady lived next door. There was only a railing between them. Yu Lily was a little dumbfounded. She shook her head and said, "It doesn't matter. Come in, and remember to bring it next time." "Okay, thank you, Yu. Your hair is so long." The landlady enviously looked at Yu Lily's long waist-length hair. "The quality of the hair is also good. If my daughter saw it, she would be envious." "Envious? I'm going to cut it." The reason why it was so long was that Oh Ming liked it. Because of his love, Yu Lily had not cut her hair in the past 4 years, so it was very long. But now, there was no need to keep it. The landlady's eyes lit up and said, "Really? Why don't you sell it to me? My daughter is making wigs. Recently, I can't get good hair, so I'm worried." "Okay." Yu Lily smiled. "Really? Then I'll let my daughter find you tomorrow." "Okay." The landlady got the affirmation and happily walked to the French window in the living room. Yu Lily unlocked the door and let her climb over the railing. Then she locked the door. His hair was wet, and water was dripping from the outside into the inside. Yu Lily let out a long sigh. After locking the door, she walked back into the bathroom. However, he didn't have the same feeling as before. It seemed that even if one was courting death, one had to find the right feeling. If he was interrupted, he would no longer have the decisiveness to seek death. Yu Lily laughed at herself. After a quick shower, she dried her hair and put on her clothes. Then, she fell into a comfortable sleep. The next day, the landlady's daughter came looking for him. Seeing Yu Lily's long hair, and seeing Yu Lily's indifferent attitude, he directly cut it with a knife. After giving Yu Lily 700 yuan, he helped her trim her hair into a cute short hairstyle and left with the hair. All of a sudden, her long hair was gone, and Yu Lily felt a lot lighter. He looked in the mirror and found that he looked pretty good. Chapter 8:16. Rummaging through the wardrobe, Yu Lily packed all the valuable clothes and shoes and sent them to the second-hand market for more than 30,000 yuan. In addition to the original more than 10,000 yuan in the card, and more than 90,000 yuan from the wine tray recently, she had a total of 150,000 yuan. After transferring 150,000 yuan to Louis Han, she sent a smiley face to his WeChat. "Louis Han, I've returned you 150,000 yuan, and I'm afraid I can't return the other 50,000 yuan. Louis Han did not reply immediately, and Yu Lily counted the money. The original 300 or 400 yuan, plus the 700 yuan from selling hair, totaled more than 1,000 yuan. Seeing the money, Yu Lily felt relieved. Walking out of the second-hand market, Yu Lily was bathed in the sun, squinting and looking up at the sun above. It was very big, very round, and very dazzling. Picking up her mobile phone, Yu Lily took a picture of the big sun, posted it on WeChat Moments, and edited, "Today's weather is great. It seems that I haven't seen such good weather for a long time. Cherish every moment, love, I haven't had a big meal for a long time. I'm going to have a big meal." Yu Lily clicked on her profile picture and scrolled down. The most recent WeChat Moments was the company's anniversary tour 6 months ago. At that time, she saw others posting on WeChat Moments, and she also posted one. With a smile, Yu Lily put away her phone, stopped a taxi, and went to the best Western restaurant in the capital that she knew of. Stopping the car, Yu Lily took her bag and walked in. Her figure was graceful, and her smile was light. Naturally, it became a beautiful scenery, attracting everyone's attention. In the revolving restaurant on the top floor, Yu Lily sat down and ordered a steak, her favorite chicken breast salad, a cup of coffee, and a soup. Seeing the long-lost dishes, Yu Lily smiled with satisfaction. She took a few photos with her mobile phone and saved them in her mobile phone. After wiping her hands with a wet tissue, she gracefully and slowly cut the steak. A piece of steak in her mouth, Yu Lily's heart was indescribably satisfied. Her eyes were hot, but her lips were full of smile. It's delicious. It's been a long time since I've had such a taste. In the past few years, she was not living, but surviving. It was just that the living conditions were far more difficult than she used to be. Perhaps if he had never been happy, he wouldn't be in such a sorry state. As she ate, her eyes became hotter and hotter. She took a deep breath and picked up her cell phone to take a selfie. Compared to yesterday, the short-haired girl in the phone was less mature, less charming, and more energetic and playful. Yu Lily was very satisfied with the look of her short hair. She took a few photos and sent them to her WeChat Moments along with the photos of the dishes. She wrote, "New hairstyle. It's rare to have a big meal. I'm so happy." After the meal, Louis-Han finally replied with only 2 words, "Liar." Inexplicably, Yu Lily thought it was funny and replied to him with an emoji, evil smile, "Louis-Han, your life is good, much better than mine." "Yuli, just a so-so, Louis-Han, I'm busy now." "Yuli, okay." After paying the bill, he had exactly 100 yuan left in his wallet. After taking a taxi home, he only had a little more than $10 left from the last $100. As soon as he got out of the car, an old and dirty beggar greeted him with a broken bowl in his hand. Yu Lily gave him the last $12 she had, and then climbed to the 4th floor in high heels. Chapter 8:17. Humming a little tune, Yu Lily walked into the living room. She took out a notebook and a pen and sat down at the small table. The smell of gas was getting stronger and stronger. Yu Lily bit the pen and frowned in disgust. But after thinking for a long time, she didn't know what to write. She simply held the pen and sketched the lines on it, and soon the lines of a man's face were outlined. There was an evil smile on his face, a pair of peach eyes, and a few lines were drawn vividly. Yu Lily saw this face and smiled softly. Then, she drew 2 little babies under the man. With pacifiers in their mouths and wrapped in swaddling clothes, the 2 little babies looked exactly the same. Yu Lily even laughed, and her eyes were hot. Throwing the pen away, Yu Lily picked up her mobile phone, looked through the address book, clicked on Louis-Han's chat, and made a video call. Louis-Han seemed to be a little busy, and it took a long time for him to get through. As soon as he opened the phone, Yu Lily saw the face she hadn't seen for more than 4 years. His hair was half wet, and a towel was on his neck. It looked like he had just taken a shower. "Louis-Han. What's wrong?" Louis-Han wiped his hair and held the phone, not caring. Yu Lily suddenly smiled happily, looked at the face on the phone, and said, "You actually answered. I just wanted to try." Louis-Han heard this and was a little upset. "So you came to try your luck?" "Yes, this shows that my luck is still very good." Yu Lily smiled happily, looked at him, and said, "Louis-Han, are you still single? What does it have to do with you?" Louis-Han was even more upset, looked at her little face with a bright smile, and said, "Are you very free?" Yu Lily's heart was sour, and the smell of gas was getting stronger and stronger. Even Yu Lily was a little short of breath. Gently shaking her head, Yu Lily pretended to be relaxed and said, "I'm very busy, but I still have to take some time to talk to you." You seem to be in a good mood. Louis Han yawned. I'm sleepy. What do you want to say? When Yu Lily heard that, her smile deepened. She chuckled and said, maybe you don't treat me as a friend, but the only people I've ever considered a friend are you and Qianqian. Qianqian is very happy now. I hope you can find your other half as soon as possible and live a happier life. Louis Han pouted. This is not something you would say. What the hell? The smile on Yu Lily's face became even brighter. She shook her head and softly said, I'm just here to meet a friend. If I suddenly die one day and don't even have a friend, that would be too sad. Although these two friends might not be considered friends. You wish. It is said that the scourge lives for 1,000 years. People like you will live at least 100 years, Louis Han said half-jokingly, looking at her. Why did you suddenly mention this? Yu Lily smiled brightly, shrugged, and said, hey, it's so boring. I want to talk to you, but I'm serious. Goodbye, Louis Han. After that, she hung up the video call. Louis Han didn't care, threw the phone on the sofa, and picked up the hairdryer to dry his hair. Chapter 8:18. The feeling of nausea and vomiting came. Everything around her was swaying. Her head hurt, and she collapsed on the sofa. Finally, she was free. So tired and sleepy. How long had it been? In order to survive, she had not had a good rest. Now, she could finally have a good sleep. Lying on the sofa, Yu Lily slightly narrowed her eyes, and sadness came like a tide. No friends, no family. It was estimated that the first person to find out that she was dead would be the landlady next door. One day in the future, someone might think of it and ask, where did Yu Lily go? When they found out that Yu Lily was dead, what would their expressions be like? Pity? Sympathy? Or expressionless, without any emotion? But what is certain is that her disappearance will not bring a little sadness to anyone, bring a little fluctuation. Her existence had always been superfluous. Only she alone, in this corner that no one knew, was struggling to breathe. Therefore, the director of the orphanage named her Yu Lily. Yu Lily tried to turn over and felt that she still had a little energy. Lying on the sofa, she picked up her mobile phone and opened her WeChat moments. There were a lot of likes and comments. Many of them were former colleagues and former classmates. However, many of them were friends who liked it. Looking at the comments, some people said that she was getting more and more beautiful, and some people were regretting that her original long hair was fluttering. Yu Lily curled her lips and replied with an emoji, Suddenly, a new comment came in. It was from Louis Han. He said, Are you with Oh Ming again? Again? Yu Lily replied, No, Louis Han, the back of the photo is exposed. Yu Lily was stunned and clicked on the big picture. Just behind Yu Lily's selfie, there was a figure. The focus of the camera was on Yu Lily's face, and the small figure behind her only occupied a little. It seemed that Oh Ming was sitting on the table behind her, looking forward, and his eyes were looking at the camera. Yu Lily's heart skipped a beat. She enlarged the photo until it was all mosaic. Yu Lily was sure that this person was really Oh Ming. But when did he sit behind her? She actually didn't notice. It turned out that she was so close to him today. How nice. Yu Lily's head was buzzing, and her vision was getting darker and darker. She couldn't even see the phone screen clearly. Lying on the sofa, Yu Lily gasped. But when he inhaled, all he could smell was the smell of gas. Out of the corner of her eye, Yu Lily glanced at the small figure in the photo. She tried her best to smile and said, Goodbye, Oh Ming. That day, Oh Ming had been busy from dawn to dusk. At noon, he had invited some foreign guests to the revolving restaurant for lunch. Who knew that he would actually see someone he would never have expected? Yu Lily. She cut her hair. His long black hair was cut to the length of his ears. Sitting in the back, Oh Ming watched with his own eyes as she took out her phone to take selfies. Sometimes she pouted, and sometimes she made a peace sign. Cliché. They hadn't seen each other for so many years, but her selfie skills were still so bad. However, he could tell that she was in a good mood. What happened last night seemed to be nothing more than a haircut. Oh Ming looked away and sneered coldly, "What a big heart." Chapter 8:19. Oh Ming felt ridiculous for his naivety just now, and then tried not to look at her. Just when he was talking to the foreign guests, he couldn't help but look at her. She seemed to be in a good mood and posted several times on her WeChat moments. This was something she had never done before. He once asked her, "Why don't you like to take selfies or post on WeChat moments? Other girls like to do this kind of thing." She looked disdainful. "What's there to take selfies? I'm afraid that my charm will shock the entire WeChat moments. If all men fall in love with me, what can I do?" Oh Ming couldn't help but laugh at her shameless answer. But later, Oh Ming learned that it was because of inferiority. Because she was a mistress, she didn't want others to know everything he gave her. Once her luxurious life was discovered, those who originally targeted her and hated her would definitely take advantage of it and spread the news more wantonly. For example, Yu Lily is a mistress of a rich second generation. Yu Lily sells her body to earn tuition fees. Yu Lily lives a luxurious life without shame. All these rumors made her feel very uncomfortable. Over time, she didn't have this habit. Good life, bad life, it was better to let her know all about it. There was no need to let others know what your own life was like. It was meaningless to be looked down upon or envied. Oh Ming had read all of this in her diary. Seeing that she finished eating and left, Oh Ming finally stopped thinking and continued to discuss the contract with the foreign guests. After eating and seeing the foreign guests off, Su Qing suddenly called. Oh Ming leaned on the driver's seat of the Ferrari. Last night's hangover and insomnia made him a little tired today. He picked up the phone, put it on speaker and put it aside. "Mr. O, there seems to be something wrong with Miss Yu." "Huh?" Oh Ming gently pressed his temple, squinted and leaned back in the chair. "She spent all the money, sold all the valuable clothes and shoes, and then returned the money to Luihan. Then she went to the revolving restaurant you just went to and had a meal, spending more than 1,000 yuan. You know, before yesterday, she ate instant noodles or fast food every day, and her daily consumption was less than 50 yuan. Hearing this, Oh Ming finally straightened his body, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. What kind of life was she living? Did he cheat so much money just to repay his debt? His heart ached, and his face darkened. He started the car and asked, "Where is she now?" "She went home." Su Cheng's voice was a little hesitant as he said, "I checked, and there was no money left in her card. I guess she didn't have much cash left." This situation, Oh Ming's heart sank, and he snapped, "Send me her address." "Yes. Keep an eye on her. If anything happens, rush in immediately." Su Qing hesitated and said cautiously, "I'm at the company now." Because she went home, I didn't follow her, but the more I thought about it, the more I felt something was wrong, f*ck. Oh Ming couldn't help but swear. His eyes were red with anger. "Are you f*king brainless?" Chapter 8:20. He dialed Yu Lily's number and watched her drive the black Ferrari on a rampage. Yu Lily saw the number and felt like she was dreaming. Sliding the screen of the mobile phone, Yu Lily picked it up. "Where are you?" Oh Ming's voice was cold and deep, and there was a hint of panic in it. However, Yu Lily had no time to analyze the emotions in it. She put her hand down, chuckled, and asked, "It's none of your business." Her voice was weak, and then she hung up the phone. After hanging up, she was inexplicably happy. She actually threw her face at Oh Ming before she died. Just like before, it was so cool. Yu Lily buried her head with a smile, and her tears seeped into the sofa. Oh Ming heard the voice, and his heart sank. When he dialed again, no one answered the phone. He quickly drove to the address given by Su Cheng and ran up 3 steps at a time. 403,403, seeing the house number, Oh Ming looked around and found that there was even no doorbell. The door was a thick stainless steel security door. Oh Ming slammed his palm and shouted, "You Lily, open the door." The sound of the palm slamming the door came in, and Yu Lily vaguely seemed to hear Oh Ming's voice. Her head was getting heavier and heavier, and her head was getting muddled. When Yu Lily heard this voice, she smiled sadly. Hallucination. Committing suicide with gas is really happy. Even the auditory hallucination can make me hear the voice I want to hear the most. That's great. Lying on the sofa, Yu Lily slowly closed her eyes. Oh Ming slammed the door hard, but there was no response for a long time. Oh Ming was more and more scared, and he slammed the door like crazy. But that door wasn't something that could be opened just by ramming. His heart was getting more and more panicked. It was like something was passing away quickly, and his heart was terribly empty. Even when he saw her covered in blood under him, Oh Ming had not been so afraid. The door of 402 next door suddenly opened, and a middle-aged woman looked over and said, "What are you doing?" Her tone was bad. When Oh Ming saw her, his eyes lit up, and he hurriedly said, "Do you know the landlord here? Is the person living here Yu Lily?" The middle-aged woman was stunned and said, "I am the landlord." "Who are you? Why are you looking for you?" "I'm her man." Oh Ming almost roared. He pointed at the door and said, "Open the door." Something might have happened to her. The middle-aged woman looked at him strangely and picked up her cell phone to dial Yu Lily's number. Yu Lily's cell phone rang above her head. She could hear it, but she had no strength. He took a glance and saw that it was the landlord's wife. Yu Lily slapped the phone away, and it fell to the ground. The soundproofing here was very good, and the ringing of a cell phone could not pass through the door. Oh Ming was going crazy. With red eyes, he roared, "Open the door. If something happens to her, don't even think about having it easy." The landlady was shocked. She looked at his suspicious face and shoved him angrily. Then she closed the door and locked it. She said to the inside, "Xiaoxue, go next door and see if Yu is there." "Oh." A woman's voice came from inside. Oh Ming waited for little Snow to come out, but after a long time, no one came out. Oh Ming couldn't wait any longer. He went to room 403 and banged on the door. He shouted, "You, open the door." Chapter 8:21. The cell phone on the ground was still ringing, like a hypnotic music, drawing Yu Lily's consciousness little by little, and it was difficult for her to open her eyes. "Yu Lily, you." Oh Ming roared with red eyes, but it didn't work, so he turned around and knocked on the door of room 402. "Open the door, Yu Lily is alone inside, something bad will happen." "My woman is inside, open the door." However, the landlady did not pay attention to him anymore. Looking at him behind the door, it was like looking at a madman. Oh Ming was a little frustrated, and for a while, he felt at a loss. What to do, what to do? Yu Lily had a habit, that was, she must have cash with her, or a little deposit in her card. It didn't matter how much the deposit was, as long as she had it. But today, she had taken out all of her savings, not a single cent was left. Moreover, she didn't usually take selfies at all, and she didn't like to post it on WeChat moments, but today she posted a picture of smiling happily, which was too abnormal. Yu Lily was alone in there. She was acting so abnormally. She must be preparing for something bad. Oh Ming didn't dare to think, and he didn't want to think, what Yu Lily was doing inside. Snowy climbed over the railing, and the cell phone inside was ringing, and the clear and melodious ringtone came out, the most classic Apple ringtone. And just on the edge of the sofa facing the French window, a bare foot was exposed, white and tender, which made Snowy jealous. She patted the French window and shouted, "You." However, there was no answer. The French window door was locked, and the person inside did not respond at all. Snowy patted a few times outside, shouted a few times, and finally returned the way she came. "Mom, you seems to have fainted on the sofa, and the cell phone inside has been ringing, but I can't wake her up." Snowy's voice came out, and Oh Ming heard it clearly. Looking inside, Oh Ming's eyes were red, and he shouted, "Something must have happened, open the door." The landlady also knew that things might be unusual, so she quickly took the key and went out. There was a large bunch of keys, and the landlady checked the label number one by one, squinting her eyes and slightly tilting her head. Oh Ming couldn't stand it anymore, so he grabbed the big bunch of keys, looked through it, and soon found the key to room 403. However, when he opened it, he found that there was another wooden door inside. Oh Ming almost went crazy. He searched for the key and opened the door. However, when the door was opened a little, a strong and pungent smell of gas came out. When the landlady smelled it, her heart skipped a beat. She quickly stepped back and looked inside in disbelief. As for Oh Ming, he took a big step and ran in like a madman. At a glance, he saw Yu Lily sitting on the sofa. Yu Lily's face turned red. Her lips, face, and skin all had an unusual shade of red. With a big stride forward, Oh Ming's legs almost turned to jelly. His eyes stung, and his vision blurred. Oh Ming's heart felt like it was being ruthlessly grabbed by something. It was as if it was about to break, and the pain was hysterical. An indescribable sense of regret engulfed him so tightly that he was almost suffocating. He was so flustered that he didn't know where to put his hands and feet. With great difficulty, Oh Ming picked her up and rushed out of the door. His breathing became more urgent as he carried her down to the 4th floor. He placed her in the car, and the Ferrari went on a rampage without any sense of reason, speeding straight ahead. You're not allowed to die. Dash. Chapter 822. Yu Lily had a dream. In the dream, she went back to the day when the doctor announced that she was pregnant. Because of taking contraceptive pills for a long time, your body may have antibodies to contraceptive pills, or you did not take other safety measures, which led to pregnancy. But according to the situation you described, I do not recommend you to have this child. Contraceptive pills have a great impact on the fetus. Now you can't see any problems, but it is difficult to guarantee that after you are born, the fetus will be deformed or have some other problems. Yu Lily touched her belly, looked down at the doctor in front of her, and asked, for example, mental retardation and cerebral palsy? The doctor nodded sympathetically. Pregnancy still needs to be prepared. This situation is too sudden, and it is not a good time for adults and children. While the fetus is still young, abort the child, and don't take contraceptive pills in the future. It is very bad for your health. Coming out of the hospital, Yu Lily's mind was in a mess. She was pregnant, however, the child was likely to be deformed. What should I do? Should I tell Oh Ming? No way. If I tell Oh Ming, he will definitely blame me. Blame me for taking contraceptive pills, blame me for not protecting myself. However, he had taken protective measures every time. Why did she suddenly get pregnant? Yu Lily drove back to the villa, but before she went in, she heard Oh Ming on the phone. Oh Ming's back was to the door, and Yu Lily subconsciously walked lightly, so the man inside did not notice her return. Listening to his tone, Oh Ming seemed to be a little impatient, and said to the phone, "Mom, my career is not stable yet. When the time is ripe, I will be engaged to Miss Shen." Engaged? Yu Lily stood at the door, as if she had been struck by lightning. Oh Ming is getting engaged? Oh Ming is getting engaged. Didn't he say that he wanted to marry me? He also secretly ordered a ring and secretly prepared a wedding dress. Could it be that all of this was fake? Could it be that these were all prepared for the so-called engagement partner, and not for me? What am I? A mistress? Or a bed partner? Yu Lily stood in the same place, looking at Oh Ming's tall back, and her mind was blank. Oh Ming hung up the phone and was about to turn around. Yu Lily quickly took a step back and quietly avoided his sight. She was confused. Yu Lily sneaked into his study and sat down in front of the desk. The design drafts and sample drawings were all there. It was beautiful. Every detail was delicately and carefully drawn. Originally, she thought that Oh Ming had prepared these things for her. But from the looks of it now, she was thinking too much. Yu Lily's heart was filled with indescribable disappointment. She reached out and touched her heart, and an indescribable bitterness surged. He was so sad. So, it was just her own wishful thinking. Forget it, she was just a kept woman, wasn't she? What right did he have to be sad? What right did he have to be unhappy? From the moment she decided to give herself to him, she was destined to lose many things. No love, no freedom, no self-respect, no identity. Everything was self-inflicted. He didn't force her. She did it willingly, didn't she? But why did her heart hurt so much now? Was it just because he was the father of the child? Chapter 8:23. It didn't take long for Oh Ming to go out. He didn't come back for several days. Just like before, he didn't greet her, nor did he say anything to her. He just disappeared. Yu Lily was in the villa, and her mood was in a mess every day. Every day, she wondered where he had gone. Did he fall asleep in the arms of another woman? Was he indulging in debauchery in a place that she didn't know? However, what did it have to do with her? These things were not something that she could control, were they? He must have a lot of girlfriends outside. This time, I'm afraid he wants to get engaged. But, that person would not be me. He would marry another woman and keep a mistress at the same time. And I was the canary that he kept. Her wings were broken and she was locked in the cage, suffering the scolding around her. But at this time, she was pregnant with a child that was doomed to be born. The more she thought about it, the more uncomfortable she felt. On the fourth day, Yu Lily went to a private clinic to get an abortion pill. After taking the first pill, there was a clear pain in her abdomen. Curling up on the bed, Yu Lily looked pale. Looking at herself in the dressing mirror not far away, she was sweating all over. However, at this time, Yu Lily felt that she was humble and incompetent. Not only could she not get the person she liked, but she could not keep the father of the child. Now she could not even keep her own child. Yu Lily was swept by despair. She gently closed her eyes, and a drop of tears slipped quietly. On the second day after she took the pill, Oh Ming suddenly came back. At that time, Yu Lily had just taken a bath, and Oh Ming came back from outside. Seeing her in a bathrobe and her hair was half wet, he went up and hugged her from behind. The fragrance of the shower gel came from her body into Oh Ming's nose. Oh Ming stretched his head out and leaned over to gently kiss her cheek and her lips. Yu Lily avoided him with some disgust. Finally, she couldn't help saying what she had been thinking for a long time. "Oh, let's break up." Oh Ming clung to her and kept kissing her. He turned her over, stroked her waist with his big hands, and slowly moved his hands to stir up the fire. Aware of Oh Ming's presumptuous actions, Yu Lily felt even more uncomfortable. In the end, he only had a physical need for her. Yu Lily avoided his movement, and there was disgust in her eyes. She pushed him away. "I'm serious, Oh Ming." Oh Ming paused and looked into her eyes. Yu Lily's beautiful big eyes were looking at her, and her eyes were full of seriousness. Oh Ming looked at her for a long time and said, "I won't allow it." He held her firmly in his arms and whispered in her ear, "Give it up." Yu Lily pushed him away with both hands and said seriously, "I don't want to be with you, Oh Ming. I'm serious. Let me go. I can't stand it anymore." "Let you go?" Oh Ming sneered and lifted her chin with his big hand. Are you mistaken? It's not that I don't want to let you go, but you can't leave me at all. Do you think you can still live so comfortably without me?" Yu Lily's heart ached. She stared at him with her eyes wide open and retorted, Who do you think you are? No one can survive without them. Oh Ming, you are too full of yourself. Chapter 8:24. As he spoke, he had pushed her down on the bed and whispered, "If you leave me, do you think you will still have those famous brands? Do you think it is so easy to earn money in this world? Don't be too naive, Yu Ming. I know you too well." Anger rushed up to his chest and surged out. Yu Lily couldn't help but blush, and she slapped him hard in the face. Oh Ming was beaten until he closed his eyes, but his face suddenly became gloomy. It didn't hurt, but for a person like Oh Ming, this slap was tantamount to great humiliation. Oh Ming angrily grabbed her hand and growled with a sullen face, "Am I wrong? You, a woman, are vain, love-face, and think that you have self-esteem, but in fact, you feel so inferior that you can only use famous brands to cover up your lack of confidence." Every word that Oh Ming said hit Yu Lily's sore spot. Yu Lily's face became pale inch by inch. Oh Ming saw the change of her expression, and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. He continued to say, "People like you can do anything for money. Do you dare to say that when you were with me, it was not because I treated you well, and it was not because I gave you money so that you didn't have to worry about food and clothing?" Yu Lily's breathing became more and more rapid. She looked at him and loudly refuted, "No. Yu Lily, who are you kidding? You obviously thought that I was 7 years older than you. You don't know that you have the habit of talking in your sleep, do you? Why, after leaving me, did you go to find that Lu guy?" Oh Ming clamped her chin, and his eyes were full of sarcasm. "You can only sell for such a high price with me. How much money do you think that Lu guy can give you? Only I, Oh Ming, can satisfy you, whether it's financially or physically." As he said that, he tore her bathrobe with his big hand, put his knee on her lower abdomen, and whispered, "Calm down, Yu Lily. When did I not treat you well? Isn't it good to stay with me? Why do you have to make me angry? You were not so disobedient before." Oh Ming squinted and looked at Yu Lily in front of him. He saw that her face became paler and paler, and there were big beads of sweat on her forehead. Oh Ming was shocked, reached out to touch her forehead, and asked, "What's wrong?" "Cold." Her forehead felt extremely cold. Oh Ming was shocked, but he found that the smile on her face was getting wider and wider. On her pale face, it looked strange and cruel. Yu Lily laughed loudly. Her laughter was sick, weak, and pale. He lowered his head and looked down. Oh Ming followed her gaze and looked down. At a glance, he saw a shocking patch of blood red. His heart skipped a beat, and he almost fell off the bed. Blood. So much blood. Looking at the blood, Oh Ming widened his eyes in disbelief. "Oh Ming, do you know? I'm pregnant." Oh Ming stood rooted to the ground, looking at the large pool of blood below her, not knowing what to do. "Your child has been squashed to death by you. Are you happy?" Looking at Oh Ming's expression, Yu Lily suddenly felt a sense of revenge. But at the same time, there was also an indescribable sorrow. This was also her child, her first child. Some people say that the birth of every child is a gift from the heavens to their parents. But now, for the sake of her so-called freedom, she had personally removed this blessing. Happy? Happy, she didn't know if Oh Ming would be happy, but she herself didn't feel the joy she had imagined. On the contrary, there was an indescribable sorrow. Chapter 8:25. She had successfully retaliated against this man and successfully hurt this man. Yu Lily wanted to laugh, but she couldn't laugh anymore. The pain was like falling, as if something was passing away quickly. Under such severe pain, Yu Lily lost consciousness. When she woke up, she was in surgery. The doctor said there were 2 pregnancy sacs. They were the twins that Oh Ming had always wanted. Hearing the doctor's words, Yu Lily's heart was sad, and she couldn't help crying on the operating table. Twins, they are actually twins, 2 children. How lucky she was to get 2 children, but she couldn't keep them at all. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. After being sedated, Yu Lily passed out. When she woke up, Oh Ming was not around. The next day, Oh Ming came to the hospital. He looked at Yu Lily with unspeakable hatred in his eyes. Yu Lily clearly noticed the change in his mood and sat on the bed silently. Yu Lily, do you know what you have done? Oh Ming's eyes were red, and he looked at her with hatred and anger. Do you know what you have done? Yu Lily's heart skipped a beat, and her breathing suddenly became rapid. She turned her head away from him. Am I not good enough to you, Yu Lily? After so many years of affection, is it not as good as your first love that you can't get? Why did you hurt my child? Why did you? Oh Ming's eyes were scarlet, staring at her with unforgivable hatred and incomprehensible complexity. He looked at her with misty eyes. Why didn't you tell me that the child is innocent? If you had told me, everything that happened now would not have happened. Yu Lily turned to look at him. Her eyes were burning, but she couldn't help but have a bright and beautiful smile on her face. With a strong sense of sarcasm, she looked at him as if she was looking at a fool. Ha, Oh Ming, do you really think you are so charming? Such words fell into Oh Ming's ears, and it was like a spark falling into gunpowder, which made his eyelids twitch. Don't King tease me. My purpose from the beginning is very clear, I want your money. Now that I have enough money to spend, it is normal that I want to break up with you. Why do I want to have your child? I am not so cheap. I did it on purpose, I did it on purpose. Yu Lily laughed, and her eyes were wet. She laughed louder and louder, with sick revenge. CK, I don't want your child, so I want to abort it. Who let you touch me? Now it's not my fault. You killed your own child with your own hands. Are you satisfied with my answer? Are you happy? Heh. Oh Ming glared at her and took a big step forward. He stretched out his hand and strangled her neck. Yu Lily widened her eyes and looked at him incredulously. Oh Ming's eyes were scarlet. His originally clear peach blossom eyes were now filled with hatred. Hatred, it was true hatred. This man hated her. She struggled with her hands and feet, and the pain in her throat made her breathless. His fingernails gripped his hands tightly and sank deep into his flesh, but Oh Ming only tightened his grip. He wanted to kill her. He was serious. Yu Lily closed her eyes in despair, and tears flowed down from the corner of her eyes. Suddenly, there was a cry of surprise at the door. Chapter 826. Yu Lily's head was buzzing. After her neck was released, she coughed violently. The pain in her throat went straight to her heart and made her tears flow. Fresh air came in. Yu Lily's eyes were red, and she stared at him, covering her neck. Oh Ming was held down by several doctors at the moment, staring at her with scarlet eyes. Yu Lily's face showed a retaliatory smile, and she whispered cruelly, Oh Ming, you will regret it. You will regret it, and I will never forgive you again. No matter how you beg me, I will never forgive you again. I, Yu Lily, swear here. However, Oh Ming seemed to hear a joke and sneered, regret? The only thing I regret is having sex with a woman like you. The sharp words, like a sharp sword, went straight through her heart, mercilessly. Yu Lily's face became more and more pale. Oh Ming looked at her with hatred and sadness. Because of you, I killed my brother. Unless my second brother comes back to life, otherwise, I will have nothing to do with you in this life. Get out. Don't appear in Kingstown in the future, or I will find someone to kill you. B*TCH. B*TCH, he called me a B*TCH. Yu Lily covered her neck, and tears flowed down. However, she soon caught another point in this sentence. Unless my second brother comes back to life. Yu Lily couldn't believe it and asked, Li Xiqing is dead? Oh Ming felt more like a fool, madly trying to push away the doctors who grabbed his hands, but it was in vain. He simply stopped struggling and looked at Yu Lily with cold eyes. He is dead, because of me and because of you. The 2 children in my second wife's belly, a boy and a girl, because of you, the twins lost their father before they were born. How can you be so vicious, how can you? Because of her, the 2 children became posthumous children. Yu Lily's heart, during that time, was quiet and dark. After staying in the hospital for a few days, Yu Lily bought a ticket to Dali. Before leaving, she went to the old house of the Li family to see Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi was much stronger than she had imagined. Although her eyes were swollen like peaches, she was still holding on. Yu Lily hugged her and apologized, but in the end, she cried with her. She did not tell Su Qianxi about her miscarriage. After saying goodbye, Yu Lily took her luggage and went to the airport alone. A little girl was sitting in the departure lounge, holding a small MP3 player and playing music in a low voice. What else could I have done? In the end, you end up as a lover. You never think, why am I doing this? Love you till the end, not painful at all. The messages arguing, who loved once I only have one face left, no look of regret, you can't be at my wedding. After listening to your love song, I got in the car. Loving you was worth it. One night, I had a dream. You are white-haired and say take me to wander, I still won't hesitate. I'll follow you to heaven. No matter what, I can stay with you till dawn. Sitting in the waiting room, Yu Lily's throat was sore. She raised her head, closed her eyes, and slightly opened her mouth to let the air in. Her heart and eyelids were terribly sore. Get out. Don't appear in Kingstown in the future, or I will find someone to kill you. Bitch. Goodbye, Oh Ming. Chapter 827. Beep. 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 The sound of the heartbeat machine came steadily. Yu Lily opened her eyes and saw a man in a white coat and a mask. After seeing her wake up and giving her a series of tests, Yu Lily's mind was still muddy. She is in the hospital. Not dead yet. Sure enough, the lower the life, the harder it is to die. Yu Lily closed her eyes and fell asleep again. When she woke up again, it was dark. She tried to sit up, but she had no strength. Sitting up, Yu Lily found that the light in the ward was not turned on, and it should be evening. It was gray. The single bed, the good equipment, and the unusual bed all let her know that this was at least an intensive care unit. This kind of ward cost at least a few thousand yuan a day. Yu Lily was shocked and climbed down. After pulling out the needle in her hand, she pressed the needle, found a pair of shoes, opened the door quietly, and went out. Looking at it, it was really an intensive care unit. Because it was a VIP special zone, there were not many people coming and going here. Yu Lily's heart was beating fast, and she quietly walked out, carefully looked around, found a safe passage, and tiptoed in. Miss. A woman's voice suddenly rang out. Yu Lily's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly ran down the stairs. Yu Lily didn't know how long she had been lying in bed, but she had no strength. Her legs were soft, and she directly knelt down, and the whole body tilted and rolled down the stairs. Ah! Yu Lily screamed, lying on the ground in pain, and tears came out. A nurse ran in, saw her lying on the ground, and was shocked, and quickly ran down. But when Yu Lily saw it, she was also shocked and hurriedly crawled down. The nurse saw it, and was even more shocked, and shouted, "Oh, why are you running? Stop. Only a fool will stop." Yu Lily stood up, held the handrail, and ran down. But she was really weak, and was caught up by the nurse in a few steps. The nurse panted and blocked her way. She was a little unhappy and scolded, "Why are you running? No one wants to kill you. Go back." Yu Lily's tone was a little fierce. She curled her hands around the handrail of the stairs and looked aggrieved. Unwilling to let go, she said, "Sister nurse, please let me go. You're right. I will be killed if I stay here any longer." Because, she didn't have the money to pay for the medical fees. It would be better to just be killed directly. Yu Lily held on to the handrail, looked at the nurse, and said pitifully, "Let me go, okay? Just pretend that you never saw me. You go up now, and I'll go down now. Just pretend that we never met, okay? Must you force me to do this?" The nurse suddenly felt a little funny and looked at her, shaking her head speechlessly. The nurse ignored her and picked up her phone to call the higher-ups. Yu Lily took the opportunity to climb down, but the nurse's hand quickly caught her. "Hello? Come down to the 3rd floor of the VIP room to help. There's a patient who just woke up and tried to escape. I just happened to catch him." Yes, he's in room V8. "Oh, then bring his family here. I'm afraid it'll be a little troublesome." "Family?" Yu Lily looked up and shouted, "I don't have family. They are definitely not my family." But, as soon as she finished speaking, she heard the sound of leather shoes coming from above. Yu Lily's heart skipped a beat, and she looked up with an ominous feeling. Dash. Chapter 828. Sure enough, after a while, they saw a doctor in a large white coat leading a tall and straight figure walking down the stairs. The figure behind the doctor was wearing a dark-colored striped suit. He stood upright with one hand in his pocket and looked down from the stairwell above. His peach blossom eyes were slightly cold, and she couldn't see his emotions. Yu Lily's heart seemed to be grasped. When she saw that figure, her heart ached terribly. It's him. Did he save me? Why? Yu Lily lowered her head slightly and looked away. Her eyes were stinging, and her throat seemed to be blocked by something. The nurse waved to Oh Ming and said, "Family member, come here quickly. This patient actually wants to run. Take her back quickly. She just woke up and needs to be examined." Oh Ming walked down slowly, looked at Yu Lily, and asked slowly, "Why run?" A familiar voice, but not a familiar tone. His tone was no longer as evil as it was in the past, nor was it as doting as it was in the past. It was as if there was a thin layer of frost, distant and indifferent. Yu Lily's throat tightened, and she swallowed a mouthful of saliva. After a while, she said, "I don't have money to pay for the medical expenses." It was a simple sentence, but it was like a heavy hammer that hit Oh Ming's heart. In an instant, his heart clearly felt sore and swollen. Oh Ming's eyes narrowed slightly, and with a cold face, he took her wrist and stepped up without saying anything. He pulled her, but she didn't move. Yu Lily lowered her head with red eyes, and the other hand was tightly wrapped around the handrail. "Go back," Oh Ming said in a low voice, and his tone was indisputable. He pulled her again. But Yu Lily just leaned forward, and then she tightly grasped the handrail, gritted her teeth, and said, "I don't know when you became so nosy." Oh Ming stopped and turned to look at her. Yu Lily's throat was a little dry, and her voice was low and hoarse. In the stairwell, there was an empty echo. "Oh Ming, just like before, can't you pretend that you don't know me? Why do you have to do so much? Who asked you to save me? I don't want to live anymore." As she said that, her voice was choked, and her eyes were slightly red. She looked up at him with tears. "Why don't you just let me die? Why do you have to do so much?" When these words fell into Oh Ming's ears, his heart, which had been tightly clenched, felt as if it had been bitten off by her. It was bleeding, and it was so painful that it convulsed. Looking at her deeply, Oh Ming tilted his body slightly and suddenly smiled. His devilish smile was slanted upwards, bringing with it an uninhibited and romantic attitude. His shimmering peach blossom eyes were looking at her, as deep as a broken ice lake, cold and devoid of warmth. "Don't you know? I've always been so kind." As he spoke, he raised her hand and gently caressed it with his slightly rough big hand. He narrowed his eyes slightly and smiled. "Just like how I bought you from a bunch of young ladies back then. I saved you. Shouldn't you be grateful?" Ladies, bought. Those words stung Yu Lily's heart even more. She pulled her hand back, and her eyes became redder. She tried to shake off his hand, but it was tightly held. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.